being honest.
Yeah, no, we just ask again.
Yeah, okay.
Or you just might- Hello and good afternoon. Before we begin our regular meeting for the CHamoru Land Trust Commission, if everyone could please rise for the interfresi.
Ina fresi, kini mas tak kilo gina soku, i mas tak kalung gi corazonhu, jani mas figo na ni nasingahu. O fresen mai setso, para bayo protehi, tau defendi, I hinengi, I kultura, I airi, I hanan jani tano CHamoru. Esti teretu gini na zuos tata, Yelo I Biblia, jani bandahu, I bandarengwahan. Viva CHamoru!
Viva!
Thank you, Attorney Toft. Teams.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Santos. The time is 1:01, and I call our meeting to order. Public notices for today's meeting were published in the Pacific Daily News on February 10, 2021, and February 15, 2021. Notices were also posted online on the CHamoru Land Trust website at dlm.guam.gov, the CHamoru Land Trust Commission's Facebook page, and the Government of Guam's public notice portal at notices.guam.gov. This meeting is being live streamed on the CHamoru Land Trust Commission's Facebook page and on YouTube at GovGuam Live. Video and audio recording is made possible by partners at KGTF. Okay, good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you for joining us today. We will proceed with our roll call. Commissioner Berdalio?
Here.
Commissioner Santos?
Estiguito.
Commissioner Herrera? Unfortunately, Commissioner Herrera is not able to join us today. Acting Administrative Director Camacho?
Present.
And Attorney Toft?
Here.
Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. And these are for the minutes of our regular meeting on December 16, 2021. All right, I'll give commissioners just a couple minutes and we can proceed.
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner Santos.
Thank you. I do want to state that I went over the minutes and there are some that I found with the inaudibles again, and I do want to ask again about our system that we had. Did we purchase it already?
Yes.
Oh, okay, and it's still not the ability to connect it to our system is not. We don't have a.
As I understand it, right now it's over with OTEC
Mhm.
to get the software installed.
Okay, so
Together
we're,
with all of our new computers that we just received.
okay, great. So we're just pending OTEC's the installment of programs. Okay, thank you for that update.
And then the setup in here.
Within the conference room. Appreciate that. Appreciate that there. I do want to state that I did find, in audibles, and then I went ahead and I looked on YouTube, and I kind of wanted to, which was important at our last meeting. There was one constituent that really made a matter in our last meeting. So I wanted to look at the transcribing in that section. Besides what I found at the beginning, just a couple of very minor but off with one letter. And then I looked into the other where I was talking about with that constituent. So I found some stuff, and I would like to suggest that, and I understand with our recording and what we have to turn in for the open law with the OPA within for our meetings when they end, we have a certain time limit to turn in to OPA what's needed, required, right? So I wanted to suggest, and I will put my time into, if it's okay, if it's all right, within the bounds of the law, Attorney Toft, is to help with transcribing the minutes, if that's okay. I do have a lot of, that I really want to, it's gonna be a little time consuming, but I didn't go through the whole document, the minutes. I just wanted to bring it up, but I do want to suggest that we table approving the minutes in this meeting because of what I found. And I would like to ask if it's okay to go through with it with Tina together, right? Because she's the one that transcribes. And then present it at the next meeting and, you know, solidify, because there are some things where it's substantive and it's important, especially with you, Mr. Chairman, and then with Attorney Tops, there's words that weren't added and then there were misspelled words. So our recording system is not up to date, it's not up to par. It's not, you know, I understand that. And I also do want to add in that I want to suggest that we are looking to, is it okay for us to listen on YouTube for the transcription of it?
Yeah,
Instead of it just being within our recording device. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because I looked into YouTube and I was able to hear it.
okay.
Is that,
Yeah, that's acceptable. So you can, what we can do is table it for now,
okay,
and then we can communicate with Tina and suggest the changes and substitutions
all right,
for the next meeting.
okay, great.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Medallion, any questions on tabling our minutes?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, with that said, and just to be clear, I just wanted to make sure I understand. So Angela, Commissioner Santos, you will be working with Tina and identifying the areas of where we need to re-listen to the recording
Right,
and ensure that it's transcribed correctly.
yes.
Okay, thank you. And that is not a problem. We'll go ahead and table our approval of the December 16, 2021 minutes. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next up on the agenda is the null and void leases update. And so we'll begin with Ms. Lydia, and then we will move to the SOPs. So, Ms. Lydia?
The Nolan
Ms.
voices
Lydia?
have
Ms.
not
Lydia, can you
changed.
give us 1 second if you can hear me? Let's
Yes,
get
I
the
can.
audio in the room increased. 1 second, Ms. Lydia.
Can you hear me clearly now?
No.
Oh.
If you don't mind just saying test, and we'll just
Test.
check our connection.
Do you need me to pop over? I see the director is nodding her head yes. Give me 2 shakes and I will pop on over.
Ms. Lydia, if you can hear me? Yeah, that'd be great if you can come in.
The little white table, Tina? Yes.
My God. Okay. Good day, Commissioners. Good day, Commissioners. Good day.
Can you try again, Lydia?
Good day.
One more?
Good day.
There you go.
Second?
Let's go karaoke style.
Thank you.
Okay, so as of today, no, the null and voices remain the same as it did in the December board meeting. 25 adjudicated, 79 waiting to be adjudicated, with a total of 104 cases. At the application stage, we had 30 files that I reviewed. Of the 30 files, 13 were done correctly, 13 need to be reviewed, need to be reverted, depending on whether or not the legislation laws change in regards to that matter, with the remaining 4 that needs further review. So a total of 30 cases, once again, being reviewed with a prior number of 157. So total cases being reviewed as of today is 187.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Lydia. Any questions, commissioners?
Are we reviewing any of the, that we reviewed? Are we, is it on?
This is as of today. The last one I reviewed was yesterday. So every day, I'm pulling files and reviewing it, just depending on the caseload and the calls that we have coming in and other matters that I'm dealing with.
Are any of these on our agenda today?
No.
To be presented?
No, because as of now, the null and void, as we remember, those are all on hold as far as being presented. However, staff reports are still being compiled. We are still doing inspections. And what it is because of the number of cases, we've broken it down to villages. So I've done Manila and Barragata, and we did the southern part of the island. But Dedido and Jigo is where a lot of our cases are being, so it might take a while for me to do those.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, thank you, Ms. Lydia. Okay, in addition to our null and voids, I know we had some SOPs out for review. And I think this is more of a question to Attorney Toft on that status of that.
Yeah, I think we're proceeding with the AAA process as far as the additional rules. And I think we're also trying to communicate with Senator Gelai's office to try and see if there's a possible legislative shortcut as well to bypass the whole process, which can be time consuming.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, appreciate that. Next up is our new business. We do have constituent matters today. We will begin with our residential. And first up will be for Mr. Anthony Joseph Kitugwa. And Tina, will you be present? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. Today, I will be presenting Mr. Anthony Joseph Kitugwa, who is deceased. He is a residential applicant. He is the original applicant. He has no named successor. He is a priority 1. And the issue with this particular applicant is that he did not name a successor. On December 7, 1995, he completed a CLTC residential application submitted to CLTC and dated December 7, 1995. His numerical designation is 001583. The time of his application is 4:16 p.m. October 12, 2016, a 60-day authorization to initiate retracement survey issued for Lot 6, Block 7, Track 9210, Municipality of Jigo, per LM number 126FY93. On November 15, 2017, another 60-day authorization to initiate retracement survey issued for Lot 6, Block 7, Track 9210, Phase 1, in the Municipality of Jigo, per LM number 126FY93. On August 26, 2021, status information sheet in the file indicates no designated successor in the file. No death certificate has been submitted. The applicant has been deceased since July 7, 2019. On November 9, 2021, CLTC received a copy of Anthony Joseph Kitugwa's death certificate via email from Catalina Kitugwa, which is his sister. My findings are based on Public Law 23-38, Section 5.8, transfer of application rights Request for succession to application. Right shall be made to the commission in writing not later than 180 days after the applicant's death. Otherwise, the application will be canceled and the applicant's name be removed from the waiting list. 2, there is no named successor listed in or provided in the file. 3, authorizations to initiate survey retracement were issued twice and were not completed by the applicant before passing. 4, an email thread in the file between CLTC land agent Johanna Kassam and Catalina Kidegua regarding Anthony Joseph Kidegua's application and status. My summary is Anthony Joseph Kidegua is a CLTC applicant who is now deceased and did not name a successor. Therefore, because CLTC was notified after the 180 days of Public Law 23-38, his transfer of application rights become canceled. And my request is, 1, for CLTC to terminate the application of Anthony Joseph Kidegua and remove his name from the waiting list based on Public Law 23-38 regarding the 180-day notice of applicant's date of death. 2, CLTC to remove Anthony Joseph Kidegua from the reservation of Lot 6, Block 7, Tract 9210, Phase 1, Municipality of Jigo, and the lot be placed back into the CLTC's inventory.
Thank you, Tina. Commissioners, any questions? Thank you. All right, so given that we have the termination in front of us, and there's no questions, I leave it to you if we want to take action. Attorney Toff, anything on your side? No? Okay.
All is good?
I did have, so sorry, I just, one question. In the correspondence between Ms. Catalina Kidegua and Johanna, was that just the correspondence on the death certificate?
Yes, that was just the correspondence of the death certificate and explaining based on the 180-day law with the 23.38 that he doesn't have the date, the time has passed, has lapsed
For the successor,
for
okay.
a successor, and he did not name one at all. So,
Okay. Just wanted to understand what was that specific dialogue or email string. Okay, thank you. Commissioners, I'll pass to you.
First, I would like to make a motion that the CLTC terminate the application. The application of Anthony Joseph Kidegua and remove his name from the waiting list based on Public Law 23-38 regarding the 180-day notice of the applicant's date of death.
Thank you, Commissioner Berdiallo. May I get a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Santos. Any objections?
None.
Hearing none, motion passes to terminate the application of Mr. Anthony Joseph Kidegua and remove his name from the waiting list based on Public Law 23-38. Okay, thank you, Commissioners. And next item?
Yes, I would like to make a motion for the CHamoru Land Trust Commission to remove Anthony Joseph Kidegua from the reservation of Lot 6, Block 7, Tract 9210, Phase 1, Municipality of Jigo, and the lot to be placed back into the available inventory.
Thank you, Commissioner Berdiallo. May I get a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Santos. Any objections?
And
Okay, hearing none, motion passes to remove Mr. Anthony Joseph Kidegua from the reservation of Lot 6, Block 7, Tract 9210, Phase 1 in the municipality of Jigo, and place back into the CLTC's inventory. Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Tina.
thank you.
Okay, next up on our agenda for residential constituent matters, we have Rosa Ignacio and Frankie I. Cruz.
Yes, let me go check if they're.
Okay, and we do have constituent present. Okay, thank you, Tina.
Go ahead and have a seat at the back table with the single one.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cruz. And for recording purposes, could you speak into the mic and state your name, please?
My name is Frankie Cruz.
Thank you. Okay, and who will be presenting this case?
This one will be Lilia, let me just let her know.
Okay.
CHamoru. Oh, Johanna's not presenting?
She's on. Okay. Hi, Johanna. Can you hear us?
Hi. Yes, sir. I apologize. Could you hear me?
I don't think so. Let me ask Lydia if she can.
Is she talking? I believe she is because her phone is.
Johanna, could you try again?
Test.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect.
Good afternoon, commissioners and everyone. Please excuse me if I may go on mute for a little bit here and there due to my cold. Okay. So before you, I have the report under Miss Rosa Ignacia Cruz, who was deceased, and Mr. Frankie I. Cruz. And this is a residential constituent. The issue we have here is a subleasing property as an Airbnb rental. Through the findings under Miss Rosa and Mr. Cruz, we were notified through an anonymous call, a community complaint, that this place of residence was being leased out or rented out through the Airbnb website. So, so on October 29th, 1998, a ground lease was issued to Ms. Rosa Cruz for a portion of lot 5402-R5 New Manilao, containing an area of not more than 1 acre subject to survey. This you can find on your Exhibit E. On October 2nd, 2002, a mayor's verification was submitted certifying that Ms. Rosa Cruz, head of household, and Davy Dan Cruz, son, has been occupying 5402-R5 Golden Cupid Pocket since 1998. November 23, 2005, a notice of intent to award, NOIA, was issued to Ms. Rosa Cruz for a portion of lot 5380, Municipality of Dededo, containing an area of not more than 1 acre, subject to final survey, DLM approval and recordation. This was issued and signed by Administrative Director Thomas A. Elliott. On July 26, 2003, a request from Ms. Rosa I. Cruz was to change her application type from agriculture to residential and to add her son, Frankie I. Cruz, to the spouse, partner's name on the application/lease. On July 26, 2006, Acting Administrative Director Thomas A. Elliott approved the notarized request from Rosa Ignacia Cruz to add her son, Frankie I. Cruz, to a residential lease. On March 23, 2010, an email thread from Mr. Peter Trinidad to lessee in regards to a violation of a building structure on the property assigned to Ms. Rosa Ignacia Cruz and Frankie I. Cruz on lot 5380-11 located on Villa Gomez Street, Manilao. A notice of violation was issued to Mr. Frankie Cruz from DPW, and you can see this on Exhibit D. On May 21st, 2012, a residential lease was issued to Rosa Ignacio Cruz and Frankie I. Cruz for lot 5380-11 Dededo, recorded under instrument number 836949, and you can find this on Exhibit F. September 22nd, 2021, a community complaint made to CLTC via phone in regards to the lessee renting their property on the Airbnb website. Airbnb ad from the website in lessee's file for reference, and you can see these on Exhibit C. There's, I believe, a couple of pages of reviews on this case. On September 29th, 2021, CLTC conducted a site inspection on lot 5380-11 Manilao. Upon land agent's observations, there was a parked vehicle parked at the rental unit. A notice to contact CLTC was left on the adjacent container structure. You can see this on Exhibit B. On October 1st, 2021, Mr. Frankie I. Cruz contacted CLTC office in regards to the notice and spoke with Mr. Joey Cruz. A follow-up call made by myself advising Mr. Cruz that we are conducting our site inspection report and will contact him as soon as we get all of our documents in order. On December 7th, 2021, land agents Glenn A. and myself met with Mr. Cruz to discuss the September's site inspection and other findings based on the Airbnb rental. And lastly, on December 11th, 2021, Mr. Frankie Cruz came in to meet with Acting Administrative Director, land agents Eileen Chargloff and myself to further discuss his case. Mr. Cruz has also advised our office that his mother is deceased. A letter from Mr. Cruz was submitted for the board's consideration, and you can see this on Exhibit A. Based on our findings, on the CLCC residential lease agreement, number 7 in occupancy, here it clearly states that the lessee shall occupy and commence to use the premises as his home within 3 years after the installation of infrastructure. And that's based on Public Law 24-62. On 7.1, the lessee shall, after the occupation of premises thereafter, occupy the premises on a full-time basis. 7.2, lessee shall be required to have all utilities properly installed and metered as is necessitated by the utility and be responsible for the payment of all charges and connection fees. 7.3, the lessee shall conform with all territorial zoning and building laws, subdivision, environmental or administrative laws or policies. 7.4, should lessee possesses an agricultural tract of CHamoru homelands and desire to build a home on that agricultural tract, the lessee shall require.
My father's 10 acres next door. Yeah, there's a bunch of. He was one of the original tenants for this memorial.
So there were not much tenants here first.
The actually it's always been
Okay, it's like 80, trying to do this 8, 9.
Do you want to just pick back up a couple, maybe on 7, what number were you last on? 7.4? And then for the first or letters are IN. Please make sure you're on mute. Thank you.
Okay, going back to 7.4, should lessee possesses an agricultural tract of CHamoru homelands and desire to build a home on that agricultural tract, lessee shall make prior arrangements with lessor to surrender this residential premises upon completion of the construction of the residence on the agricultural tract. And 7.5, lessee shall submit to the commission all plans as to the design, materials, and probable value of the structure he intends to build on the premises. Lessee shall not begin construction of said structure until he has received the written approval of the plan from the commission. 7.6, should lessee be occupying property which is designated as CHamoru homelands at the time that lessee obtained this underlying lease, lessee shall, within 1 year of the date of this lease, vacate the tract of CHamoru homeland which he was occupying at the time he entered into this lease, and not enter upon any other CHamoru homelands for the purpose of establishing a residence or for farming purposes without the express written consent of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. Violation of this section is a default of this lease agreement and can cause forfeiture of this lease. Next, under section 13, use of premises. Lessee shall use the premises as his personal residence, which premises shall only have a single family dwelling constructed upon it. Failure to obtain express written consent of lessor for the erection of structures on the property shall be deemed a default of this lease and subject the lease to termination at the discretion of the lessor. And lastly, under Public Law 23-38, Section 7.7, sublease prohibited. The lessee shall not sublet his interest in the tract or improvements thereon. Violation of this provision shall constitute grounds for cancellation of such lease. In conclusion, Ms. Rosa Ignacio, who is deceased, and Mr. Frankie I. Cruz are co-lessees on their residential property under Lot 53-11 in the municipality of Manila, also known as Dededo. In September of 2021, an anonymous call was made to CLTC addressing their concerns and knowledge that the area they attended a gathering at is possibly a CLTC property. Further research and review were conducted to validate that the lot being used under the Airbnb website is in fact a CLTC property. Substantial evidence pulled from the website indicates that the property has been rented out since 2016 based on online reviews from renters. However, there can be others that have rented. There could be more that have rented but decided not to put a review online. Based on all of what has been presented before you, commissioners, our request is to terminate the residential lease issued to Ms. Rosa Ignacio and Frankie I. Cruz on lot 5380-11 in the municipality of Manila under instrument number 836949 based on the violations addressed within Public Law 23-38, Section 7.7, sublease prohibited, as well as to request to terminate the agricultural lease issued to Ms. Rosa Ignacio Cruz on a portion of lot 5402-R5 Manilao, Tunquico Feja Street, containing an area of not more than 1 acre, subject to survey.
Okay, thank you very much, Joanna. So just before we begin and have the commissioners kind of gather their thoughts and ask questions, I just wanted to ask Mr. Cruz, was all this information discussed and presented with you prior to coming before the commission? Please speak into that.
I'm sorry, she did give me the findings, which I went over it.
But you've had meetings and discussions with Johanna and or the director, acting director Camacho?
Just at that one moment, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
Okay, just want to make sure that everyone can hear. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so I'm gonna, there's a lot here to review, and I'm gonna give the opportunity to our commissioners to begin asking questions, and then we'll all follow through. Okay, and thank you again for your presence here. Okay, commissioners, I will begin with you.
I just want to clear and state that I do know Mr. Frankie Cruz, but with all my due diligence as a commissioner, I will be able to make an unbiased decision. So I just want to state that I do know Mr. Cruz.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Santos. All right, and I will yield to the commissioners to begin.
I, Arlene Bordelio, know Mr. Cruz myself. He's a business associate doing business with my family finance company.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Verdelho.
I do have a question on the lots. You have one here that says lot 5380-11 located in Bichicoma Street, Manilo. And then you have another lot, 5202-R5 New, Manilo, known as Tunquico Feja Street. So, what lot, where is the so-called Airbnb located? In which lot?
I can go ahead and answer that. So with this case in particular, Ms. Rosa Ignacio Cruz was issued an agricultural lease on the 53, She was issued her original lease was under the 5402-R5 New Manilao. However, when there was a request to change her application type and to add her son, Mr. Frankie Cruz, yeah. Hello?
There you go. Just rewind just a little bit, Joanna. Thank you.
Okay, so going back to that, the original lease was 5402-R5, and that was the agricultural lease issued to only Ms. Rosa Cruz. When the request to add her son and to change her application type to residential, our office did not do an addendum. Instead, they issued another lease. So in file, there are currently 2 leases under Ms. Rosa Ignacio Cruz, the second one having added Mr. Frankie Cruz. So as stated in our public law, the change of application type is actually not applicable. That is why we are doing the request to terminate or cancel both leases under Ms. Rosa Cruz, and then the other one under Ms. Rosa Ignacio Cruz and Frankie Cruz. So the Airbnb rental is actually on the 5380-11 in the municipality of Mingilao.
Okay, thank you, Joanna. Commissioners?
I refer this to the attorney.
Just to inform the board before we move forward on any decisions, if the board is considering a termination of the lease, it will have to go through the AAA process, in which the first step would be to request the AG to appoint a hearing officer for a full hearing on the matter. So we cannot do a termination at this meeting if that is the intent of the board.
Okay.
If it is simply to do a cease and desist, the board can decide that, but a termination would require tabling the matter until such time that an administrative hearing can be held.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Attorney Tom.
I have a question. Are you residing at the house?
Yes, me and my daughter has
okay.
been moved here.
In the container home in the.
Well, the house is small, and my wife, my other 2 daughters, and my grand, so that's one of the reasons why I'm bringing it here, so we can have more space and save back money. wife, and then they can stay in front.
Okay.
Commissioners, any other questions?
I would suggest then that we table this matter and have Mr. Cruz's case go before the Attorney General's office.
Okay. I do have, I just wanted to yield time for you guys, for you, my fellow commissioners to ask questions. If not, I have a few that I would like to begin with, and maybe you can add on. Okay. Again, Mr. Cruz, thank you for joining us today. So, I mean, I think the matter at hand for me, what's concerning, right, is a couple of things. And maybe Joanna can help on this one too. So with the original application as agriculture, right? And we moved, or it was then changed to residential. Was there a lease already issued when it was changed into residential?
Yes, there was an issue lease, and that is under the 5402-R5 new.
Okay, and so with that, so so just to reiterate, there are two leases on here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And
Which should have, I'm sorry, so what should have happened is when, from my understanding, Miss Rosa was originally in the area where the Attic House School is, and with some of our lessees, they were moved because of the school. So when they moved Miss Rosa, they moved her to this area, which is on the Villa Gomez Street under the 5380-11. Our office did not cancel that first lease, or they didn't do an addendum. So that's why in file there are two active leases. So what should have happened is before they did an issuance to the second one, they should have done an addendum, which would basically cancel that 5402-R5 new lease.
that switch, it was not necessarily presented to the board, correct? It was just approved by the administrative director at that time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Mr. Cruz, thank you, Joanna. So, Mr. Cruz, my question is, so we do have, right, I mean, it's obvious that this has been used as a rental property via the Airbnb site. Now, the earliest record from what I could tell, right, based on what we were provided, was since 2016. Now, is that the beginning of when this house was used as an Airbnb or a rental, or was it earlier?
It's about around that time, yes, about 2016.
Okay. A couple things also thank you for that. A couple things that I also want to clarify. So, as far as getting the structure, right? It's fully concrete, in
Yes.
which is being, okay. And how are those permits to be able to build, approved, or do you have some of those permits that you provided to Joanna?
Yes, I wanted to provide that. It's just that our last meeting, I just felt very intimidated, so I just didn't know what to do about coming back or anything. And our last meeting here, they just wanted to me to sign and terminate the lease, and I was very intimidated to come back, and but I did gather all the information, and I do have the building permits, I do have the plans, and I do have him in a agreement with the contractor that during the time I had a lot of problems with him. I mean, we had an agreement. He took long of finishing the homes. I mean, he almost tried to run away, and I had to track him down, and it was just a real big mess. I mean, I guess when you pay less than the square feet, that's what happens. I mean, but I do have that, and I did want to building permits to try to get full lease and everything, and according to them, like 2016 and everything, their system is not updated, so, but I do have some right here too.
Additional documentation, okay.
Yes.
And how about the, sir, just curious also, right, so being able to operate as a rental, right, do we need the business license?
Yes, I do. My daughter did file for business license and everything. I mean, we weren't trying to hide anything. I mean, I even got all the statements, the billing statements from then to here, so you guys can see the cost of what we made during those years. So
And is the business license under your name or your daughter's?
it's my daughter's.
So the business license is on your daughter's name, the property and the lease is under your name.
Yes, I mean, I did not know that, we couldn't do that. We went through the proper channels from land management to GRTs, and everything was approved. I mean, I wasn't thinking to try to manipulate or.
Understood. I'm just curious because there are a lot of layers
Yes,
in approval, so land management would have had to also sign off on
yes,
this as well. And so in regards to the building itself, right? There was the information with DPW, I believe, Mr. Trinidad,
yes.
in regards to the notice of violation. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
I believe, yeah, I received that. I'd run into Public Works and
That was in 2010, correct? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
somewhere there, yes,
Okay.
and I did spoke to where's my contractor. I mean, I don't know, was this for the clearing or for the building structure?
A couple of things. So, I mean, it was about the initial permit was for clearing and grading.
Which I made sure I got that from the beginning.
And then it looks like when they came to the property, there was a 40-foot container.
Yes, which I did get a permit for that too.
Okay. And there was no questions in regards to all your permitting and licensing on that this was Chamorro Land Trust property?
No, I mean, I didn't really know what's supposed to be, but yeah, no questionings. I mean, I did actually mention it to a couple of them. I went down to GWA to revenue tax, I believe so, and as we did the license for the Airbnb, I mean, there was no issue, and so we just thought that everything be okay. I mean, if they would have said something, and we would have not gone forward with all this mess.
Okay. And just kind of, I guess, curious, usually there'll be like a title search of sorts, or
Yes.
right, to make sure that it is your property per se.
Yes. I mean, we gave them all, and I know they asked for lot number. We gave, of course, all of those, and even map system too. So yes.
Okay. Commissioners, any additional questions? I'm just trying to make sure I understand here.
I understand that your mom passed away. My condolences, and our condolences. There was with the switch of application type, did you receive the documents that are in this, within the exhibits, if you have the lease? Yes. Did you receive it?
I got the lease here.
Okay,
That's
okay.
under me and my mom's name.
Turn to a quick question. So, the action that we can take is obviously not to move on the terminations. But what was that? I'm sorry. What would the board need to do? Yeah.
Well, so I was saying that the board could do a cease and desist as to the Airbnb activities. With regard, I think we've
Which
had,
already did, I mean, we stopped this, I mean, the minute we had found out, I mean, it's not even worth the money for ourselves too, so.
but I think we can proceed with the agricultural termination because that lab's obviously been used for something else at this point and is no longer part of the, really part of the case. It's just really the lot 5380-11 that we're dealing with at the moment.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Cruz, when was the last rental the last time it was rented out? Do you recall?
Yeah, well, I asked my daughter for the statements and it was somewhere like, I think November or August of last year.
Of 2021.
Yes.
And that was when the commission, the Chamorro Land Trust received the complaint. Was that-
Somewhere around there.
Okay.
So,
Commissioner, any other questions?
none for me.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ms. Camacho, please.
Thank you for coming in today and speaking to our board. I just wanted to make some clarification based on your office visit, I believe that was last month.
Yes.
There was a discussion about where or how you were able to operate the Airbnb. You mentioned that you were not living at the property at the time, that you had lived in another home with your wife, and that your daughter was,
Living up there, and yes, we do have another, well, it's not exactly on my home, living or anything, I mean, it was just something that my parents built, that my stepdad built that we lived in and everything, but, you know, since when he passed away, we just asked for me and my mom and stepkids to go ahead, but that time has come, and that's the reason why we moved up there and everything.
but, so when did you move back to Villa Gomez?
We were still staying there, I still had my stuff there, still both places. I mean, I was just getting ready for this time. I mean, I just needed to financially set up yet more to fix up the place, make it more livable, especially in the backside.
Okay, so just for clarification, you were just staying at both locations throughout this 2016 to the current time?
I was, pretty much, yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Camacho. Okay, commissioners, thank you, Mr. Cruz. Commissioners, so a couple things. You know, we per guidance with Attorney Talk, we could definitely address the agriculture lease. I think for record-keeping purposes, we should consider the cease and desist, right? Just to make sure that all of that activity no longer is happening. And then the last piece is we'll refer it over with the AG's office. Is that our next? That's with the next course.
I think what the board should do is essentially vote on the course of action, because if the cease and desist is the end goal, then there would be no need for an administrative hearing. If termination is the end goal, the administrative hearing is required.
Got it.
So I think that decision needs to be made before the reference is made over to the Attorney General's office.
Okay. So we decide on just the cease and desist, then there would no need for proceedings for the AAA.
Correct.
Correct. If we decide that we want to take this a little further, then we will not issue the cease and desist, or we should still issue the cease and desist and then also another,
I would do both.
right, another motion to then take this through the AAA process.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So Commissioner, I think that, again, right, I think we should definitely consider the cease and desist. We should act on terminating the agriculture lease, since it is where, I believe, Okudu, Joanna?
Attica.
Attica,
Yes.
sorry. Attica or Okudu?
Attica?
Attica, okay. So that's already Attica, we can tackle that. But I think, you know, Mr. Cruz, you know, given that you do have a copy of the lease, and, you know, it does state, right, as Joanna listed for us, right, of how the property should be used. You know, I just think that we may want to, for me personally, and if, of course it's up to our commissioners, you know, we take a look at this a little bit further, because it was since 2016, and you know, you did sign the lease, you did, you know, agree to the terms and conditions, and the fact that it's, you know, it is Chamorro Land Trust property, and we're definitely wanting to get through to be able to issue more leases. We want to make sure the property is used for its intent. And the fact as well that you weren't living there so that you could have the property rented, you know, it's also a little concerning, from my perspective, right? So I just that's kind of where, again, I'm just wanting to make sure that I understand everything, and that, you know, these are the, and make sure that you're aware that these are some of the things that, you know, you signed on, and these are the terms and conditions that should not occur. Yet you were leasing it out or renting it out. So, but I would just you know, yield to our commissioners and see what our, you know, what should we take on and move forward with.
Commissioners, can I make one more mention?
With the Airbnb, yeah, please keep in mind that there was money involved in taking for this property. So as a rental, and you know, it was definitely validated on the website. It was advertised that the amount of how much it is per night. So please keep that in mind.
Which I do have statements here, for those things, so.
Okay, I will, I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you again, Mr. Cruz. Thank you, Joanna, and I will leave it to our commissioners for any additional discussion, or how would you like to proceed?
Attorney Toft, what are the motions, and what do we need to, what are the steps that we need to do again if we want to do the cease and desist, and then we have to absolutely terminate the agricultural lease? Coming back to it being residential, with all of the evidence that we have in front of us, and everything that's been online, it's very hard to even pass this, and I'm sorry, but please, right, like, this is our people's land, and some people are displaced. There are a lot of people homeless, and you're not a bad guy, man. I know this for a fact. But for me to just be able to pass this up and not make that certain determination for myself on this commission, I won't be able to do that, you know, and, that's with, whatever the recommendation that Joanna had put forward, that's my decision.
Did you have a question for Attorney Tom? Sorry, just wanted to
Well,
make
yeah,
sure you
he,
missed that.
about the cease and assist, the termination for both leases, we have to go through the AAA process.
No, just for the termination on the residential.
Residential, okay, okay.
Mr. Berdal, any questions to that? Again, this is, you know, what would be the next step? So I think that let's tackle the immediate next step, right? At least the first two, on you know, just making sure we document the cease and desist, right? And then we request to terminate the agricultural lease, which is where the Attica, and then you guys can, you know, we'll tackle the final piece after we get through the two.
Okay,
Okay.
understood.
That's just my recommendation, so. So we could, if you'd like to.
Well, okay, I would like to make a motion to cancel the agricultural lot 5402-R5 in Manila.
It's a R5 new for the clarification.
R5 new? Okay. Lot 5402-R5 new, Manila, which is on Kiko Fejas Street, containing not more than 1 acre, under the lease of Rosa Ignacio Cruz.
Cool. Thank you, Commissioner Berdalio. May I get a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Santos. Any objections?
None.
Okay, hearing none, motion passes to terminate the agriculture lease issued to Rosa Ignacio Cruz for lot 5402 R5 New Manila to Kiko Fejas Street, not more than 1 acre. Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Okay, next up.
The cease and desist. How would we just, how would we
I would say use a motion to issue a cease and desist
for the Airbnb?
for
on
Airbnb
that
activities
lot.
on this particular lot.
Okay. Sena?
Oh,
Pango? I motion to submit or request for a cease and desist for the Airbnb for Miss Rosa Ignacio and Frankie Cruz on lot 5380-11 in the municipality of Manila under instrument number 836949.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Santos. May I get a second?
I second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Berdalio. Any objections?
None.
Thank you. Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Commissioners. The motion was the approved issue to issue the cease and assist on the residential property of Ms. Rosa Ignacio and Frankie I. Cruz, lot 5380-11 in the municipality of Manila, under instrument number 836949. Okay. Thank you, Commissioners.
Just to clarify, and then the next would be the AAA process for that.
Yes, I would talk with your fellow commissioners and make the decision on whether or not to proceed with pushing for termination under the AAA process and beginning that.
Okay. Do we have to make a motion for that? Yeah.
That would also require a motion.
Okay.
What is the motion again?
It would be a motion to begin the AAA process for termination of the lease, the residential lease under lot 5380-11, and to refer the matter to the AG's office for requesting a hearing officer.
Okay.
In the meantime, the family of Mr. Cruz are staying at that house.
Yes, I believe, yeah, so they'll still be able to occupy the home, yes, during this process, yes.
I make a motion to begin the AAA process for termination of the residential lease issued to Ms. Rosa Ignacio and Frankie I. Cruz on lot 5380-11 in the municipality of Manila under instrument number 836949, based on the violations addressed within Public Law 23-38, Section 7.7, sublease prohibited.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Santos. May I get a second?
You're terminating it,
We are going to begin the AAA process of that.
but you didn't mention.
Did we? I'm sorry.
Mention it in your resolution.
So to clarify, if you second, then you can discuss the motion before voting on it,
Right.
and then,
Well,
She didn't
just the
second
wording,
yet. Yeah, I
just the
know.
wording on your.
Begin the AAA process
Yes,
of the termination of
yes, to
residential
begin
lease.
there,
Right, the AAA process.
okay.
So let's, could we, Commissioner Santos, could you retract your motion and restate, please?
Okay. I make the motion to begin the AAA process of the termination for the residential lease issued to Ms. Rosa Ignacio and Frankie I. Cruz on lot 5380-11 in the municipality of Manila under instrument number 836949, based on the violations addressed within Public Law 23-38, Section 7.7, sublease prohibited.
Thank you, Commissioner Santos. May I get a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Bordallo. Any objections?
None.
Okay, hearing none, the motion passes to begin the AAA process for the resident, to request for the termination of the residential lease issued to Ms. Rosa Ignacio and Frankie I. Cruz on lot 5380-11 in the municipality of Manila under instrument number 836949. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cruz, you understand what has happened?
Okay, thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. You know, I appreciate your cooperation in meeting with the team. I appreciate your presence here today. And we will proceed on the next steps. Any questions?
No question.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Cruz. Johanna, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Okay, next up on our agenda is the Aubrey Nadine Duenas. And may I ask which line agent we're presenting with us today? Ms. Lydia, you're on mute, I believe, or we can't hear you, ma'am. Sorry, Ms. Lydia, we still can't hear you. Ms. Lydia, you can hear us though, right? Okay. It's maybe your headset.
No.
No, ma'am.
Maybe her volume.
Let her give a couple checks. Okay, I do see on the on Zoom, Ms. Aubrey Duenas. Ms. Aubrey, could you state your name, please?
Hi, I'm having trouble hearing. It's very dim.
Sorry, let's try it again. Okay, mic check, mic check. Okay, Aubrey.
I don't know if it's the Zoom call.
Okay, Ms. Duenas, we're gonna try that. We're gonna try that again. Can you hear me okay?
The TV. T is the TV. Yeah, I know. Can you take it back again?
Okay, we're gonna sort out the audio issues, Ms. Duenas and Ms. Tulu. So we're gonna take a quick 10-minute break. Thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you everybody for your patience. We just needed to sort out some of the audio. I think we should be better now. Thank you again, Ms. Duenas, for joining us today. And just to confirm one more time, you can hear us okay, correct?
Yes.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, and for the record, Ms. Duenas, amongst all the audio issues, could you just please state your name for us?
Green and Renee.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, you'll be presenting today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, so this case was originally presented in December. And then the original.
lessee, Ms. Duenas, the mother of the current lessee, Ms. Abri, came down and she made a couple of comments. So we decided to hold off on everything that was approved until we actually had a conversation with Ms. Abri, which then we did have. So now we're coming back to it after having talked to the lessee. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You can
Oh,
You can
okay.
proceed, just, you want to
Okay.
take us from where we left off and after the
Okay.
conversations and where we're at
Yes.
today? Yep.
Okay. So originally, the lease was given to Ms. Stephanie Duenas, who at the time she applied was a priority 1. Then her initial interview, she still remained a priority 1. 3 years prior to her signing the lease, she became a priority 2 when she received a property in Mingilao through a deed of gift, which she shared with another person. 2 years prior to her signing the lease, she got a Guam housing loan for her private property. 3 months prior to her signing the lease, construction completed on her private property. That was in, I believe, September, and then in December of the same year, she signed a residential lease. Years later, she came back. I don't know where she was an employee of at the time she signed her lease, but eventually Ms. Stephanie Duenas actually works for Department of Land Management, and at some point was tasked with working at CLTC as a land agent 1. Somewhere along the way, she became aware of, because she was a priority 2, she couldn't have the lease. Therefore, she went before the board requesting to transfer the lease to her daughter. What was not disclosed to the board at the time in the staff report nor during the board meeting was when exactly she became a priority 2, was prior to her issuing the lease. The board approved it without the actual knowledge of when she was a priority 2, and the lease was transferred over to her daughter, the current lessee. Then at some point, Ms. Breen transferred her lease from Mingilao to Barragata. In that time, since that transfer, she did a survey on the lease lot. However, she has not been occupying the lot. Public law requires that, first off, in order to get a lease, all priority 1s need to be processed first. That was not the case with the original lessee. Now, the current lessee, having relocated to Barragata, has not occupied the property. She has 90 days, according to public law, to occupy the property. She has surveyed the property. She has paid land lease fees on it, and my understanding is she has paid property taxes. However, she is in violation of the rules because she has not occupied the property. When we met online in December, I had explained all this to her. She had voiced concerns, so now she's coming to the board today to find out if the board will continue to allow her to continue with the lease, or will the board move as it originally intended to do back in December, which was to terminate everything. Now, should the board intend to termination, then I will have to come back in the future, because if termination is the case, Ms. Abrin should not be responsible for any property taxes on a lease that has been terminated. So we're currently waiting for her to submit receipts on that. As we know, it does take time to gather materials from that, especially with COVID and public and Department of Revenue and Taxation being behind. So everything is pending on today's board decision.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Talou. Commissioners, I'll pass it on for questions.
I'm sorry, can I speak?
Hi, Ms. Reyes. Yes, thank you again. Thank you for joining us today. I just had passed it on to the commissioners, but yes, you may proceed.
Okay, I just wanted to find out if you guys had my FOIA in front of you.
Your what?
FOIA? FOIA?
We got a FOIA request from your mother, and I believe it was processed.
Okay. I was going through all the documents, and I have some findings here about some of the concerns that you mentioned just now. So you said that the lease was approved for the transfer, but on the CLTC meeting back in the minutes in August 2016, I have the minutes stating that our land agent at the time, Johanna, it states that she appealed to have Miss Rainish, which is my mother, to decline her lease land and transfer the lease to her daughter due to the fact that she obtained a private property. So that just shows me that they were aware that that she had a private property at the time. And then once that happened, the commissioner at the time, Pika, stated that we needed to file the motion, and then that motion was second and it was granted, and so it was approved.
Yes, you are correct, but
what your mother failed to do.
what was failed to report in the staff report was when exactly your mother became a priority two, which was 3 years prior to her signing the lease. Yes, I understand. She may have not been aware when she signed the lease that she shouldn't have been given the lease because she was priority two. However, when she went to the board, she did state what was stated, and it wasn't her, it was the land agent, and it was in the staff report that she was requesting to transfer the lease because she was a priority two. It never stated in there exactly when she became a priority two, which was 3 years before she signed the lease. So had she disclosed all of that, that wouldn't be the issue that I brought up. The issue was the board was never duly informed exactly when it was. The implication that was made in the board meeting was, and when you look at public law, it's an emergency, an immediate emergency. She was a priority two 3 years before she signed the lease. That is not immediate.
But at the time of interview by Mr. Alan Kwan, that was back in December of 2007. She didn't have the land at the time.
I stated earlier, at the time of her interview, she wasn't. But at the time she signed her lease, she was. While she may not have been aware at the time she signed her lease, eventually, as working as a CLTC land agent, she did become aware. And what was presented at the board meeting, as well as in the staff report, was never when she became a priority two. The implication that was made was that she was a priority two. Therefore, she wanted to transfer it. The implication that was made was she didn't become a priority two until after she got the lease. But the reality is she was a priority two prior to her having the lease. Now, it would be a totally different story had she said exactly when she became a priority two. And the board, I could understand if she had gone before the board and said, I've been waiting 20 plus years. I never got my property. I had to move forward. I was given private property. I have built my house. I have a loan on it. Now, because I have this property, I would like to transfer it even though I am, or I was a priority two prior to me getting this lease. It'd be a different story. But what was failed to be admitted to the board was when she became a priority two.
Thank you, Ms. Dueñas. I don't mean to interrupt you. Just let me just interject. Ms. Dueñas, so just making sure we're clear, right? It's all on the timing and the disclosures of when the priority two was when the applicant became a priority two. So and given that we weren't at the time, up to this time, we're not issuing leases on priority twos. We're only focusing, or right now has always been priority ones, right? We still have a lot to get through. And then, yeah, and let me just yield over to Ms. Camacho just to add.
Lydia, just for my own clarification, is there something in the file that land agent Johanna Cussing submitted with regards to her presenting this case, but she did not make the staff report? Is this the?
Yes.
Is this the file?
Yes, you are correct. Joanne Kasem, the land agent who submitted the staff report when this was initially approved to transfer the lease, had stated that she had not prepared the staff report. There is actually, we cannot name who the land agent is who prepared the staff report, because all it says is submitted by CLTC staff. But Johanna has stated, she did not submit the staff report, nor had she been aware of the facts. And when Ms. Dueñas became a priority two, she would not have continued in that way. I have a copy of the incident report and her statement. You are more than welcome to look at it. And in fact, Ms. Dueñas, you should have gotten that as part of the FOIA.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Camacho. Thank you, Ms. Tulu. Ms. Dueñas, so, sorry, so I don't have that copy, but I just want to confirm that you have the documents that you have requested?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Any other questions? So Ms. Dueñas, I just wanted to make sure that making sure that it's clear on kind of how, from a timing perspective and how it transpired, and that's kind of how we're reviewing the information, right? Unfortunately, and it's unfortunate that we don't have the name of the land agent or the staff that had prepared it, right? Of course, it was Joanna that presented it. So, unfortunately, we don't have the who, but there is the documentation of how things have transpired and where we are today. So just wanted to make sure, is that clear for you, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And then right now, ma'am, I'm going to ask the commissioners if they have any additional questions.
Ms. Dueñas? Ms. Dueñas? Can you hear me? Not too much. You can hear me? Is it clear enough? Okay. I have possibly a couple of questions. We did try to get a hold of you numerous times. I was just wondering what the not lack of response, or why didn't you contact us back when we kept trying to get a hold of you? It took until we sent out a registered mail to contact you.
Actually, she didn't respond to the certified mail.
Oh, the certified mail,
She
right?
didn't respond to that one. It was when we had the board meeting, was when
Okay.
her mother came down,
Okay.
the original lessee.
Okay, thanks,
That was
Mr.
the first contact.
Okay.
Other than when I originally contacted them back in I believe, September.
Okay.
But after that initial phone conversation with the original lessee,
Hmm.
and then with Ms. Sabrine, after that, No answer on the phone calls, no response to any of the emails.
Okay.
But she did reach out to us, and we did meet on December 22nd, I believe, at 12 noon.
Yes, we did.
Okay. Ms. Dueñas, I also want to mention another reason why we took action in our last meeting was because of... How does it sound now? How does it sound now? I don't think you can hear me now. I gotta put my... Yeah, possibly. Ms. Dueñas? Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. Great. Like I was saying, our last meeting, we were talking about what was in the staff report and what was presented to us. One of the reasons why we took action last meeting was because of the emergency stated. That's the reason why they were transferring. It was being transferred to you. And if I'm correct, it wasn't even for 7 years, right? It was less than 7 years. So that was another factor too, right? I just want to let you know that we did talk in extensive measures about your lease. And what solidified it was when they went out to do a site visit and there was no movement, right? Nobody staying there. Granted, we are aware that you have paid taxes, but all in all, it came down to the fact that because the transfer was because of an emergency and then nobody is occupying it as a residential property. Those are a few of our reasons for why we took the actions we did last meeting.
Well, I brought this up at the last meeting that we had in December as to the reasons why it took so long. Initially, when we had when we obtained the land, it was going under investigation. I know you guys understand that. We were also a part of the CHamoru Land Trust Resolution 2018-08, and that was the ratification. And so we were waiting on that, and then it got approved. Once that was done, of course, I did the survey. I took numerous contractors down to the land, and then I went and I got a blueprint done and all of that. Of course, it's mentioned I did pay for the land taxes, but then once we were finally ready to build, I found a contractor. I went to apply for power and water. When I went to GWA, it was another hiccup because Clint Huntington had said that, there's a water line that needs to be run through the land over 100 feet. And when I went to go apply with the plumbing, they said it was going to cost me out of 50 grand, and that's paid for by the developer, which is myself. So that was another setback, So there was just, I understand that this was given and we're supposed to, utilize this right away, and then I was told that the land wasn't even cleared, and I thought we needed a building permit to actually go in and clear the land. I didn't know that we could just go in and actually clear it ourselves. So there's just a bunch of different things, and myself, it wasn't communicated to me at all that this needed to be done, on a time frame at all. I didn't know that I had such a short window. I just knew that the land was mine, and I moved forward into building, and I started the process, and I have all the documents, I have all the paperwork to show that I was doing it. And then the land was supposed to be fully infrastructured, but then the land agent never disclosed any of that to me.
What was it? Oh yeah. Do you have the lease? Did you ever look at were you given the lease when they transferred it over to your name?
Yes.
Okay, so you've gone through it.
Yeah.
But let me just mention, when you said you were never aware of, in June 16, 2020, in an email from land agent Johanna Kasem, she did state to you that you were required to occupy the property with X amount of time. So you cannot state that you were never informed that you had to occupy the property within a time frame, because you were informed in 2020.
Okay, but what in that email, what was the time frame on that? Is Johanna in the meeting? Is she in this meeting right now? Can she state that?
In the email, it was regarding your request for, you were going before, you were making an appointment, I believe, to go to Guam Housing for a loan guarantee. And then Johanna had mentioned in the email, and she cited the public law that required you to occupy the property within your area. She gave you a time frame in that email.
When I need to build a specific date or the time frame, like years, span of years, it states that?
Duenas, let me interject, please. Ms. Chalu, in
Yes?
the lease, does it state what the regulations or the rules, right, the timeline, and you, in order for you to, after you get your permit, right, then you start to,
Okay, so within the lease, once there's infrastructure within the area, you need to occupy the property within 7 years. But when you talk about 7.5, a transfer of a lease, it changes it, because once the lease is transferred to you, the time frame speeds up. So it goes from years to days.
okay. Is that stated in the lease that she has?
It's not stated in the lease, but it is
Because-
part of public law.
Because, why isn't it stated in that lease?
I don't know. I'm not the one that prepares the lease. I
Okay.
only request for it. And I'm not too sure even if it is stated in the addendum.
Okay,
But it's either way, whether it was from the time frame that she initially transferred it over, she has not occupied the property. So unfortunately, that's the whole point. That was one. And the other thing is also, it was never a good lease to begin with in the first place.
right.
She is, as much as I have sympathy for her, and I understand her point, she is not at fault here. She was given a present, but what it is fruit of the poisonous tree. She cannot profit from something that is not allowed under public law.
Thank you, Ms. Leah. So, I think to your point, it stems, Ms. Duenas, it stems back to, right? So, given that there were communication in 2020, however, it still goes back to whether or not this lease was a valid lease. Again, given the timeline that had transpired and how the transfer was done. So that's I just want us to come back to the root here, the root cause, and not necessarily, in 2020. It's should the lease have been executed, right? And that's kind of what I want to make sure we're clear, and that we can answer that. Should the lease have been executed?
Public law, the lease should not have been executed.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
Commissioners, any additional questions?
Well, here we go again with the lot numbers.
Commissioner Berdallo, just speak in the mic, and then Commissioner, I'll bring, sorry, Ms. Duenas, Commissioner Berdallo is going to ask a couple of questions, okay?
The original lot that was given to Stephanie Duenas was,
I'm sorry, Mr. Guy, I can't hear you.
the original lot.
No.
The original lot,
The original. Lot. The original what?
The original lot.
The original lot, okay.
5202 R5 new 17 5 Manilo was given to Stephanie Duenas. Now, land agent Lydia, on March 31st, 2008, you have lot 5402-R5 new. That's a portion of, and it's supposed to be half an acre. Now, and then you have in September 2012, you have lot 5402-R5 new -17-R2. And then in December, you have 5402-R5 new -17-5 Manilo. So which lot are we talking about?
Okay, so when you look at the lots, you got to think of it as a single woman is the best analogy I can give. So my name is Lydia Talil as a single woman. Should I marry John Cruz, my name most likely will change to Lydia Cruz. Does that mean I'm not Lydia Talil? No, I still am Lydia Talil. The name changed. So the lot description that I put is based on the original lot. Now, back when we were doing leases, what it was sometimes it would be a portion of. Once a survey is done, then the lot changes. It's still the same lot. It just, because there's a recorded survey map, especially when you talk about a portion of, the lot descriptions may change. That is the best analogy I can give as far as that could explain that one.
So we're only talking about one lot.
It's the same lot, yes. She just went from a single girl to be married, that lot.
That one says Manila, but we're talking about a Barragata Heights property.
Yes, because after the lease was transferred over to Ms. Breen, there were issues originally with the lot in that there was no access to it because somebody had built a structure on there prior to it, on the easement, prior to it becoming an easement. So therefore, she requested to be relocated. And at the time when we talked about relocation, everything was done administratively. It was approved by either the deputy director or the director himself of Department of Land Management to allow the transfer, which is why the lease now is for a lot in Barragata.
Okay, so to follow up to Commissioner Berdalio's question, the lot that we're speaking of with the lease is not the Manila lot, it's the Barragata lot.
Right,
Okay.
yes.
Just want to make sure, because I think that's kind of where Commissioner Berdalio was going, is if we're speaking, and Commissioner Berdalio, please stop me, I just want to make sure I'm clear, that the original lease was for the Manila lot and then had been transferred to the Barragata lot upon the transfer as well to, no?
No.
Okay.
So first it was, the lease lot in Manila was issued to Ms. Stephanie.
Okay.
One. Then Ms. Stephanie requested to transfer the Manila lot to Ms. Breen. That's step two. Then from there, Ms. Breen requested to transfer to Barragata. So then it went to three. So just be aware, as each step came along, Ms. Breen was doing everything in accordance to the law. She continued to, each document, she got it recorded. So when it was transferred, the lease was transferred from Stephanie to her daughter, that was a recorded addendum. Then when she went from Manila to Barragata, that was another addendum. Then there was a mistake on the original lot description in the Barragata one, so they had to redo another addendum to correct the lot description. So there's been multiple mistakes made on this with the paperwork and whatnot. So the lot descriptions has changed when you look through the various documents going forward. But the good news is we at least have a paper trail that we can understand why lease lots descriptions changed over time.
Thank you, ma'am. Hey, commissioners, any additional questions? Ms. Duenas, do you have any additional questions or comments for the commissioners?
I just want to know where we're at today.
Attorney Toff, anything that we should ensure we consider or what should be considered by the commissioners?
Just want to know if,
Mr. Nick Tuff has any, or what are his thoughts on any of this?
Yes, ma'am. I just direct the question to him. Thank you.
any recommendation?
So, similar to the prior case, if we were to attempt a full termination here, this would also require a AAA process hearing. I do not recommend that based on the facts in the case. We would have a lot of problems trying to convince a hearing officer that when the board has approved all of these every step of the way for the last 12 years or so in this instance, that and induced reliance, you know, there's estoppel issues there, there's a statute of limitations issue there, there's the problem that the language of the priority rule has some vagueness to it, which kind of counts against us, in that there is no affirmative duty on the part of an applicant to inform the CLTC as to when they get or lose land that changes their status. CLTC is the one that has access to DLM and DRT records. That would be easily used against us in a hearing if we were trying to terminate the original application. If we terminate the transfer, or avoid the transfer to Ms. Sabrina Duenas, we have the situation where it simply reverts to Stephanie Duenas, who the very next second can go around, and now that she's to a hearing officer, that's a lot that's ready and available for infrastructure and for construction. As well, she has evidence that she's been making strides towards the construction on the lot. She's gotten surveys. Again, that's estoppel reliance on the contract that counts against us. I just think that, you know, there are irregularities here, but I don't think there's enough that we could succeed in an action to terminate if it went before a hearing officer, especially based on the actions that the board has taken over the last 10 years to basically approve all of the actions every step along the way.
Thank you, Attorney Toff. And that's kind of when Ms. Lydia was kind of giving us the chronology of,
You know, it's a lot of paperwork and a lot of headache for no change in status whatsoever. And if we try to terminate, I don't think we'll succeed before an administrative hearing officer based on the evidence and the actions of the board.
I have a question. Attorney Todd?
Mm-hmm.
Last meeting, we were able to take action on the proposed, the suggestions, right, that Mr. Liu had presented to us. How did that, now that I'm thinking about it, how did that change until now where we have to start the AAA process, but last meeting we were able to terminate? Correct? Didn't we terminate last meeting?
No, we allowed Ms. Duenas to supply additional information.
No, before that, we took action on all three. We took 3 actions.
I believe
We reversed the transfer, if I'm correct. We terminated her own lease, which you also stated that would just place Ms. Stephanie Duenas back in line. That was it. How is that different then than now? Now we gotta do the AAA process for termination?
If you're
Now that I'm
terminating,
thinking about it, we did that last meeting with this constituent.
we pulled that action back.
We did, but we also made the motion to take action.
Yeah.
And we took action.
Yeah.
How is that different from now?
It would not have been valid, and she could have easily,
Fought it.
yeah.
All right.
Because
So how
we-
come you
we-
didn't mention that last meeting then?
Because everything kind of got, everything came to a very quick head before I was able to
Real crazy.
speak on it.
'Cause somebody stormed in our meeting.
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
that happen.
very much so.
But anytime that we are moving to terminate an existing lease for CLTC, it requires the AAA process. The difference between let me clarify that, unless it's something that as a matter of law should have happened. So with the last case, we had it where the original applicant had an agricultural lease. It was transferred into a residential lease,
Understood.
and the agricultural lease was supposed to have been terminated as a matter of law.
Right, we were able to do that.
But you know, anytime you're doing any sort of ejectment,
Okay,
that would require the AAA process.
okay. How come that wasn't stated last meeting then?
That was going to be stated, we just never got around to that point because there were things that happened prior to.
Well, no,
the-
because you said, let's hear her out. You said, let's hear her out,
Mhm.
and then you gave your reasonings to her, and why this came back about was because they were talking about instances with the null and voids, and how situations come about. So this was pulled because it was a situation that everyone knew about. Put it that way. So why was that not stated last meeting, and now we're so adamant about, we gotta do the AAA process? What is, the issue that I have with this constituent is because of all of the inconsistencies with lack of information passed along. I do have a big issue with her mother, who works at land management, who clearly was able to. I'm not trying to state anything. I'm just saying there's the possibility. It was brought forth. So we cannot deny that is not a possibility. And I'm not trying to pick on nobody. But let's get our ducks in a row right now so we can verify this and make this right. Yes, it's come before us. So what do we do now?
Thank you, Commissioner Santos. So just for clarity, I just want to make sure that I understand Commissioner Santos. So, and Attorney Top, right? So in our last December meeting, we had motioned and had been accepted and approved, to terminate, right, the leases, right? And the transfer and to get Ms. Duenas back in line. And so that's what just for clarity, right?
Yes.
We took action, we made the motions, it passed. We was presented with Ms. Duenas in person, and then we decided to then retract those motions that were passed. So that's what you're wanting to correlate here with Attorney Toff is we approved those motions, and now we're not quite able to in this juncture, right? In kind of the same actions that we could potentially take.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So in reviewing the minutes, I did make a mistake in not objecting to the third motion made at the last meeting for the termination. It should have been something where I interjected and stated that it would have needed to go through the AAA process.
No, and I appreciate making sure that we are consistent in the decisions and motions that we make to again ensure that going forward, all of these cases that are brought in front of us to clean up per se, and to address if they were not handled correctly, right? So I just want to make sure that Commissioner Santos, your point is clear on that. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, can I just say something real quick? So the only reason I originally looked into this case was based on a lunchtime conversation when we were talking about null and void cases, that somebody brought up that a lease was transferred within 7 years and it was board approved and the board ratified it. So I was like, okay, so I went and I pulled this case. And then that's when I dug into it. And I found all the issues that were involved in it. And I had brought it before the board. But my concern is when you look at the lease saying it ratified, basically, I believe what we're saying is everything the constituent did, everything that was done for a lease to be issued was in accordance to the law. So based on what we know as priority 1 and priority 2, can we honestly say the original lease issued to Ms. Stephanie Duenas was in accordance to the law?
I believe we can, and I believe that we would have a difficult time trying to overturn it in front of an administrative hearing officer, given that there is no affirmative duty of an applicant to inform based on the Guam rules and regs as to their housing status. 2, the kind of vague language in the law as far as the priority list goes. 3, the amount of time that's passed and the potential of the statute of limitations argument. And 4, the reliance upon it by the applicant in the form of paying for surveys and any other infrastructure which creates an estoppel argument.
Okay, so therefore this is my question is, if we want to follow the rules and regs, wouldn't it be better that we allow the termination of the transfer to Ms. Abreed? Because was it really an emergency? And because enough time has passed, therefore then we could legally transfer the lease from Ms. Stephanie to Ms. Abreed and be in accordance to the law? Wouldn't it be better that we terminate, even though I know it's a lot of paperwork, but to me, isn't it better we do it the correct and legal way than just trying to Band-Aid it and say, oh, well, we messed up, too bad, so sad, let's move on?
I think the problem you face there is that we're revisiting a board policy decision from however many years ago, and basically just kind of second guessing their determination of an emergency. I don't necessarily agree with it either, but they're the ones that decided it, debated it, and passed it. And I think that you open up a big can of worms if you make it a thing where we can go back to any prior board decision, and if we don't agree with their reasoning on it. Because I don't think it's necessarily an illegal decision. And that's the difference. If it's an illegal decision versus just a bad decision, then I think there's a difference there.
So as long as it's a bad decision, it's okay. But when it's an illegal decision, that's when
we need to revisit it.
Okay. So I think that's one of the reasons why, when all this came about, when we started talking about board-approved leases, that was during the former chairperson's era, Pika Farron, where she required all cases go before the board for approval for lease issuance, and she point blank asked in the board meeting on record, do you own private property, when she talked about residential leases? And there had been, I know, at least one case where the applicant had to admit that yes, they were a priority, that yes, they own private property. Therefore, that whole lease issuance for residential stopped right there and then. And unfortunately, in the past, the board never did do that. But with the former chairperson, she enacted that. So I think in moving forward, that needs to be one of the things, that needs to be a standard question, especially when you talk about residential leases. But what disturbs me the most about this case, and Commissioner Santos brought it up, is as a land agent, especially when we talk about the new public law and qualifications, we are dealing with people who are very upset that they're not sure if they're going to qualify. And all we get hearing 80% of the time is, that's because I don't know anybody, because you're all corrupt. And to me, This is a case that really exemplifies, unfortunately, it drives home the point. I'm not saying what was done was incorrect, but this just does not help our situation. And it makes us look bad. This is another point that somebody in the public goes, well, if I was an employee at DLF and I knew a connect over at CLTC, I would get property and I could transfer it to whoever within the rules, because the rules won't apply to me because I have a connect. And as a land agent, to face that on a weekly basis does nothing to the morale. I'm being honest. Don't get me wrong. I love my job. I love what we do. Our whole mission is to get people property to build for them to farm. But when we're faced with issues like this, and the reality is, we are looking at 20 plus years of mistakes that were made. And somewhere along the way, we need to draw a line in the sand and say, look, we are aware we've made mistakes. Here are the corrections we are doing. I don't disagree with Mr. Toff, and I understand he's protecting the commission. But what I'm telling you is, it just does not help us on the front lines when we have to hear this day after day with phone calls, when we have constituents coming in here upset. They were only following what CLTC land agent, administrators, directors told them to do. And we have to turn around and tell them, sorry, that's not. And now I know this case is going to be thrown in our face because a DLM employee was able to get away with this.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. And you bring up a lot of good points, and it's something that us commissioners strive to ensure, right, that we do things correctly going forward. However, we will always be presented as we go through some of these cases of how we have to correct the mistakes of the past, and we want to ensure we do it correctly. So I thank you for those points, and I do understand that you are the front line that works and collaborates with our constituents, and with some of those negative connotations that come through, and it's our job to ensure and protect, right, in the sense of how we manage this as this comes to the table, to be handled and discussed. So again, thank you for that. Commissioner, I'm going to just go to the commissioners if there's any questions. Attorney Toff, thank you for that guidance. And to your point that if the board decides, right, to, let's just take it to the next step. Let's make that motion, right, to take it through the process. And let's let the process, work through, and then at least we have a baseline, right, to understand that if this particular case goes through that AAA process, and it is deemed and determined, right, that everything remains intact, then that's what we're going to follow, because then that is what has gone through the process. And then I'm just making that as a discussion point for, bring that to light for our commissioners if that is the route we take. If we decide, and more, this is now a question, if we decide to err to keeping things intact, right, then I feel we then start setting a precedent, because we may start seeing, or we will start seeing more and more of this come through in having to deal with, cases that come up, issues that come up, and then we're still kind of maybe not having the, something to base ourselves on, certain cases, very similar cases, that, hey, this is how this was handled, here's how we need to handle it now going forward. There's always been, we handled it this way, yet, okay, we're gonna switch gears because we're gonna have to handle it this way. The laws have changed for eligibility, that's a whole new task in front of our land agents. So the question is, right, if we let it go through the process, the board can decide that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then if we decide, the board can also decide, however, right, again, just more for Congress dialogue commissioners, if we decide to keep things intact, case after case that comes through, this is the case that we're going to use to say we're going to keep it intact. And is that right? It's kind of where I'm, I don't think it's right, but if our commissioners decide to do that, then that's, again, does that make it right? So, but thank you. We can decide to get it through that, to go ahead and proceed to the process, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and let the process take course. Okay. Okay, commissioners, just any other questions? I just wanted to point that out. Again, Ms. Salu, thank you for that dialogue. And we do know, and please know that we do know that you are the front line. And we only get to the details when we are here, right? And we obviously want to make sure that that's not going to be the case. But if it is the decision that we make, then we're going to have to stick to it, commissioners. And that's our cookie cutter going forward, right? Does it make it right? Yes and no. But if we decide to make that happen, then that's how we will proceed. So, all right, if there's no additional questions, commissioners, I would like to get your thoughts on our next step in action. Ms. Duenas, give us we're going to continue this dialogue real quick, and then I will turn to you for any additional questions. Is that okay? Ms. Duenas? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So I'm turning now to the commissioners, if you didn't follow that, to see what our next steps are going to be, okay? Okay.
I have to agree with Mr. Chairman about having this be that pivotal step that we take to move forward in correcting the past wrongdoings of whoever it was. That's all I have to say.
How would you guys like to proceed?
I say we take it through the AAA process. Right, begin the AAA process. That's, am I saying it correctly?
Yes.
Attorney Tom?
I mean, that, you would have to make the motion. but,
Right, but that's how to
Yes.
proceed if that's what we would like.
So are we going to take which part through because there's several motion requests
Right,
that are
right.
made. So are we going to go through everything and we're going to do termination of transfer, termination of addendum? I mean, what exactly are we going to take through the AAA process is my question, because in the meantime, we have a lessee. So should she move forward in trying to, because if we're going to keep her at the lease, she needs to start moving forward in getting building plans. For her to get building plans, it's gonna cost her money. So we need to give her an idea on where we're going, because it's not fair.
Right.
We leave her in a
No.
gray zone.
Yeah,
We
no.
can't keep her standing because
Understood.
how long is this poor girl gonna wait? Because at this point, the reality is, if she could have qualified to build a house, she would probably go ahead and get one on private property at this point. So how long are we going to hold Ms. Duenas hostage? I'm not saying we say yes to everything and it's all good. I'm not saying we do termination, but we need to let her know exactly what the
And-
commission wants to do in moving forward with her case, so she can decide whether or not she's going to move forward in building on that lot, or should she start looking for private property.
Yes, Mr. Lin, that's what we're going to take action on. And if the action's taken into the AAA process, that process will need to see its way through before Ms. Aubrey Duenas can do anything.
Okay.
So it's my understanding that's going to be the course of action. If the commissioners decide to do that, then all things are halted, I believe, Attorney Toth, until that process is complete, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's no more timer at this point, it just takes it to
Okay.
the process.
Okay. So then the clock stops. This is
In-
my
in-
other concern.
But,
is-
but it needs to go to the process.
Right, but, so what we're saying is we're stopping the clock right now on her. She doesn't have to worry, like, say we approved everything. I'm just guessing here. And we say, okay, so now we're gonna give you 90 days for you to start occupying the property, for you to move forward on it. There is no time limit on her. She can now breathe,
If
because currently, right now, she still has an existing lease
Yes.
until we finish the process. So my concern is I don't want her to be in limbo.
If the commission decides to move to the
Okay.
AAA process,
Okay.
that is the course of action.
Okay.
If the commission decides to keep things as is,
Okay.
then we move forward with what's the next step.
Yeah, I was just kind of confused, and I kept thinking, if I'm confused, I don't want her to be confused either.
Understood.
Okay.
But until we take action and make those motions, that will be the fork of the road, and that's when we would then ensure
Okay.
that there's clarification of that. If we take this route, it's gonna be this
Okay.
path, these steps. If it's this route, then it's gonna be these steps.
Okay. Okay, sorry,
No.
I just need to know what I
As long
need
as
to
you're,
do.
if you're clear, we'll ensure that it's clear once the commissioners
Okay,
take that action, yeah.
because it just kind of stopped and there was silence, and I'm like,
No,
okay, well,
I think
there is-
they were pondering.
Okay,
Kind of extensive.
yeah, okay.
Okay, commissioners,
So there's
task at hand for you, is what course of action would you like to proceed with? And, we can proceed.
So there are a few things, right? There's the transferring of lot from Manila to Barragata Heights. There's the transferring of residential lease from Stephanie to Abreen. There's the termination of the residential lease issued to Stephanie. Approval to reimburse, revert the application rights. There are options we have, right? So how do we move forward in correcting this constituent file, lease, actions, lack thereof action? What would be, if we wanted to terminate, what would be the steps that we would need to take? What motions do we need to make? Do we need to make all the motions? Terminate transferring the lot from Manila to Barragata Heights? Terminate transferring the residential lease from Stephanie to Abreen? Do we have to do all of that and state all of that in the motions?
I think you can make, if you're seeking full termination of everything here, I think you can, and having that go through the AAA process, I think you can state that all in one motion.
Okay. And then there is the, what is it? Just leave it as it is? Don't do nothing on it? Have it as it stands? Option?
Yes.
Attorney Tom.
So there's also, I mean, secondarily, if you wanted to do the revisit, the transfer part that Ms. Ballou suggested also, that's a third option where you void the transfer and then
Have it revert back to
have it
stuff.
revert, the lot revert back to Stephanie, and then Stephanie would then have the option to either maintain it or transfer it.
But at this point, she's still a priority too. Where does
Yes.
that leave her now? Where does that leave us in the decision process?
It depends on whether you are trying to attack the fact that she received a lease while priority two or not.
Hmm.
So there's different levels to it that you have to make decisions on.
I wouldn't say that we want to attack the fact or anything. We don't want to attack anything. We're
mean,
not
just
trying
as
to
a-
attack them.
Understood, yeah.
Okay,
As a
thank you.
practical matter, I think that, you know, if we do proceed through the AAA process, one of the first things that that is gonna be asked of us is to provide how many leases have been given to people that are priority two, and what we've done about it.
Understood.
And that's gonna be a very long process of going through records.
Commissioner Bernal, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Attorney Tubb about doing like a history of the events in order for us to go to the AAA process.
As far as the procedure?
Yeah,
That
I mean,
happened.
what historically has happened in this case? I mean, if we're
Nothing
gonna-
so far. There have been no AAA.
No, I'm saying the story to give them to
Yes.
make that decision. The
That's
AAA process.
that's why I'm recommending against it, is because the story thus far has been the board consistently approving these actions, and to go in and say, now we disapprove of it for the reasons that it doesn't look great, but have this track record of whether it's a rubber stamp or whether there was an actual, I wasn't at the hearing when the transfer occurred, and it seems like, it doesn't seem like the best reason for a transfer to have occurred. But again, even if we walk the transfer back, Stephanie has the option the next day to then, because she will have possessed it for over 7 years, to then transfer it immediately back to a Breen and make it a distinction without a difference. Ultimately, I think the one issue that you probably should look at as to whether to refer it to the AAA process is whether or not you want an administrative hearing officer to decide on the issue of, if we have an applicant who acquires land in between the time of application and receiving the lease, who does not disclose it to the commission, whether or not that's grounds for termination of a lease.
It's not in our law.
That's the problem, is the law itself is very vague on this. Even the priority list, like, we talked about this about 3 or 4 years ago when we were going over the priority listings. The problem with the language of it is it doesn't say what happens when people acquire or lose land as to how that affects their priority. You know, if somebody applies as, let's say, a priority 2, they own land but then lose it, you know, or is it an obligation of the CLTC to bump them into priority 1, and how would they slot them? You know, there's so many instances that were not conceived of at the time that these rules were written. And in addition to that, not just the instances, but also the amount of time that transpires. You know, 30 years between the time these rules were written between now. And there are so many different scenarios that were just not conceived of by the authors of the rules and regulations, that we're trying to, you know, it's kind of round peg, square hole type situation where we're really just doing what we can with rules and regulations that were not enacted with some of these situations in mind. And the problem is, when we go and do any sort of administrative action on it, is that ambiguities in the law, kind of like a contract, are construed against the drafter of it. And in this case, that's the government, that's the CLTC. So if there's any sort of wiggle room, loophole type stuff, that goes against us in the hearing. because it's our rules. You know, if they're not clear, that's our fault. So there's instances where we have clear-cut cases, clear-cut rule violations. There's instances where it's a gray area, and it's not a great thing. What we're trying to do, especially with passing the additional rules and regulations, is close off those gray areas, right? That's what we're trying to do with passing the new proposed rules and regulations that we've sent through the AAA process. And it's a long-term learning experience, and I wish we had the answer right away, but we don't.
Thank you, Attorney Toth. Commissioner Bradley, any other questions? And I think to Attorney Toth's point and to your point, right, Commissioner Bradley, maybe more so Attorney Toth, is, are we trying to solve, I think the thing we're trying to solve here is, should this transfer have been done in the first place? And that's my perspective. Should this transfer have been done in the first place? And I kind of, mentioned that earlier, is I think we're now, we were too concerned with everything that happened after, right? But I think the question is, should this transfer have actually happened? So, commissioners, I mean, I think we've kind of had some good dialogue. My standpoint and my, I think is that what we need to, would like us to clear up is, should this transfer had happened in the first place? So, but I will, yield to your consideration for what our next steps will be. And then if we decide, whatever we decide, and you just, Attorney Toth, whatever the commissioners decide, do they need to be specific on what will be taken through the AAA process, or would it be taken in its entirety?
The only thing that would need to be taken through the AAA process is if we are moving to terminate the original residential lease to Stephanie Duenas. If there is a reversion of it because we determine that the transfer was void, then it would just revert back to Stephanie Duenas. It would not require a AAA process.
Okay.
And then.
So you're saying further back, should this lease had even been executed for Stephanie Duenas?
Well, that's up to the board.
Right,
So
but
the board has
you're-
three different.
You're saying we go further back, not just the transfer, but the actual execution of the lease to Miss Stephanie Duenas, correct?
That would require a AAA process.
Right.
The other options would not.
Got it. So, commissioners, so the transfer, not necessarily going through the process, it's even further back of, should this lease have even been given to Stephanie Duenas, given that she was the priority two, whatever those timelines are. Okay.
So the only thing that would need to go through the AAA process is if we decide to question the action of it being issued, a lease being issued to Stephanie Duenas.
Yes.
Okay.
If you're only questioning the transfer from Stephanie to Abreen, that could be done via motion, in which case the lease would then revert back to Stephanie Duenas.
So motion's made, leading up to making the motion to take it through the AAA process of figuring out whether it was justifiably issued.
I think if you're going to move through the AAA process, you may as well bundle all three issues with that one, and submit all of them to the administrative hearing officer, just because they'll all be part of the record of the case.
You're talking about transfer, then the transfer of lots from Mingilao to Barragata Heights, as well as looking into whether her transfer to her daughter was legitimate.
Correct.
Okay. one bundled motion. Or we can take the motion of,
Keeping it as is. I know, I'm just,
yeah,
those
no,
are
those
the,
are the
that's,
options. Yeah,
that's the other option.
understood,
Correct.
understood. The process of all three bundled. That'll take care of it. Addendum. Residential lease issuances. Okay. And it would be leading back to Manila or the one, Vergara, right, that property? Track 9, Block D, Lot 3, R4.
That's the correct, yeah, correct.
San Arlene,
Ano?
Covan, Bonsangan, Manalo.
Mr. Chairman, you recommend where we go from here?
Well, yeah, so commissioners, I think the task at hand is, you know, what would we like to finalize here, right? And again, the decision we make today is gonna be, quote unquote, the decision, how we're gonna apply all other cases that are very similar to this. Because if we take it through the full process, at least we'll have it vetted out thoroughly, right? And we can actually see, you know, be it if it's a waste of time because everything reverts back, but at least it went through the process. If we decide to keep everything as is, as intact, every other case is very similar, will be the same. Keep everything as is it intact. But I think it'll be, you know, given that this is probably the first, this is gonna be our second one that's gonna go through the process. You know, all transpiring today, I think it's prudent that we take some of those additional steps. Again, even if the outcome is the same, because at least we have taken that extra step, given the root of how this has transpired. So those are my some thoughts on that, Senator Berdalio and Commissioner Santos. But ultimately, we have the three options, right? So we could proceed with it. You could decide to proceed with.
Lump all three, correct? Into one motion, 1, 2, and 3. Is that correct, Attorney Top?
Yes.
Numbers 1, 2, and 3 for consideration. Are we in understanding about that one? Okay,
That would be the best to lump it all in,
right,
so that it would be addressed in its entirety
okay,
as one option.
right. Is that what we want to do? Is that our final? Okay. All right, so I make a motion to approve to terminate the addendum transferring from lot 5402 R5 new -17-5 in Manila to lot 3 R4 block D tract 9 Barragata that was issued to Breen Nadine Duenas, recorded under instrumental number 908164, as well as the approval to terminate the addendum transferring the December 10, 2013 residential lease from Stephanie A. Duenas to Breen Nadine Duenas, recorded under instrumental number 905926. And the last within this motion is to approve to terminate the December 10, 2013 residential lease issued to Stephanie A. Duenas, recorded under instrumental number 861737, to bring it through the AAA process.
Thank you, Commissioner Santos. May I get a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Berdalio. Any objections?
No.
Okay, hearing none, the motion passes to take the three through the AAA process, and that is the approval to terminate the addendum transferring from lot 5402-R5 new 17-5 in Mangilaw to lot 3-R4, block D, track 9 in Barrigada, issued to Abreen Nadine Duenas, and the approval to terminate the addendum transfer in December 10, 2013, residential lease from Stephanie A. Duenas to Abreen Nadine Duenas, recorded under instrument number 905926. And lastly, the approval to terminate the December 10, 2013 residential lease issued to Stephanie A. Duenas, recorded under instrument number 861737 through the AAA process. Okay, thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Ms. Duenas, I know that was a lot, but the commissioners, is just approved to move forward with these terminations. However, it will go through the AAA process, and that will be the next course of action in regards to your case.
Okay, so if you're moving forward to termination, will I be reimbursed for all the funds that I was spent?
We'll take through, after it goes through the process and whatever has been determined or decision, then we will take action after that, from that point. Okay. Attorney Saab, anything else to add just from next steps?
No, we just applied for a hearing officer from the Attorney General.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Duenas, any questions? Okay, please feel free to reach out to Ms. Lydia if you have any additional questions that she can help field, as well as through fielding it to Ms. Attorney Top via Ms. Lydia. And we will, be in communication of what those next steps are. Okay, thank you very much for your time and your patience and being here with us today. Commissioners, thank you for...
Ms. Duenas, thank you for joining us, and unfortunately, this is what it comes down to. So we will be in contact with you with the proceedings after this.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said,
You're muffled.
I'm sorry that this is what it's come down to, but we will be in contact with you with proceedings. I'm sorry that this is what it's come down to. Thank you for joining us in the discussion. We were really looking forward to hearing from you last meeting. This really helps, but unfortunately, this is what it's come down to, and we will be in contact with you with the proceedings. Was that clear enough?
Sorry, I didn't get that. I just heard unfortunately this is what it comes down to.
Thank you for joining us. We were really looking forward to seeing you and hearing from you last meeting. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but we will be in contact with you with the proceedings.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Duenas.
Thank you, Ms. Duenas. Okay, you can hop off now on the Zoom, or you could stay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lydia.
I'll follow up with the email just to let her know.
Or give her.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we have Gloria Twiggy, and who would be presenting on?
That's
Okay.
you want y'all?
Half a day. I'm Jessica Dede, land agent with the CHamoru Land Trust Commission. The case I have before you is Lori Taekwenko Atoigui. And the issue is expiration of residential application, payment made after 30 days. Applicant's date and time is December 4th, 1995 at 3:20 p.m. Application number 1021. Application type is a residential, priority 1, and not a preoccupier. Chronology, March 12, 2018. Just to let you know, this is where the status information sheet had started in the notation. So March 12, 2018, As per status information sheet, Lori Atoigui called requesting to make payment towards her CLTC application. March 12, 2018, a request to make payment approved by Deputy Director David Camacho. March 14, 2018, a receipt for payment of application fee of $50 submitted for December 4th, 1995 as unpaid application. March 14, 2018, applicant requests change form submitted to update contact information. May 30, 2019, an email correspondence between land agent Johanna Kasem and AA Therese Tapashna to contact Gloria Toigui regarding what documents to bring to the meeting. June 10, 2019, cancellation of meeting with Gloria Toigui. Administrative Director Hattick, Land Agent Johanna Kasem, Land Agent Eileen Chargaloff, and Land Agent Glenn A. June 11, 2019, birth certificate of Gloria Toigui to include parent and grandparents, death certificate of father, and copy of Gloria Toigui's ID submitted for file. June 11, 2019, a summary report compiled by Land Agent Glenn A. Summary report. Okay.
No.
I'm sorry, the report was not submitted. On July 9, 2021, an email correspondence between Land Agent Glenn A. and Land Agent Lydia Talou, findings from research of Gloria Toigui's ancestors, names of ancestors not listed on the bond list. January 7, 2022, an incident report compiled by myself. My findings, Public Law 23-38, Section 5.3, application processing. A, applications should be dated and signed by the applicant and by an authorized commission representative. The commission shall acknowledge in writing receipt of all properly completed applications. An incomplete application shall be returned to the applicant with instructions necessary to properly complete the application. Completed application shall be time-stamped and, if accepted, assigned a numerical designation and filed in the order of the receipt. Additions, corrections, or deletions may be made only with the approval of the applicant and director. A copy of the application shall be made available to the applicant, except otherwise provided in this chapter. A numerical designation shall not be reassigned to any other persons. The applicant shall pay a one-time processing fee of $50 to the commission within 30 days of the application submittal. One-time $50 processing fee is non-refundable as stated on the application. Public Law 23-38, Section 5.6, Village and Island-wide waiting list. A, applicants will be placed on the prospective waiting list in the order specified in Section 5.3A. Gloria Toigui submitted all pending qualifying documents on June 11, 2019. So the request today is to cancel the December 4th, 1995 residential application, number 1021, under Lori Taekwenko Atoigui. Also, I'm sorry I submitted this one late. This is a notice of record of payment, just to show that the commission had given an amnesty period of when you can pay the applications. On the bottom part of it, it says applicants who do not pay the application fee by January 9, 2009 will be relegated to the inactive files and voided. And this list is current as of November 4th, 2008. I know this was published in 2008, and though this was posted in the newspaper with the listing of those who were December 1995 to 2008.
Thank you, Ms. Dede. Commissioners, any questions?
She paid 10 years later.
2018 she paid.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Camacho?
Jessica, was Ms. Atoigui informed about us presenting her case to the commission today?
She was informed, however, she was kind of upset, and that's why I did an incident report, because she was really upset.
She was irate.
Yeah, because she claims that she waited since 1995. However, I'm not saying this is the reason why she wasn't held or given a lease or whatnot, is because of the payment.
But you informed her and she just chose not to be here, is that the case?
I really thought that she would be here.
Or she was informed?
I did inform her, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Did we get a statement that she was gonna come or confirmation of her attendance? Did we get any of that, or did she say she was not coming at all?
No, she didn't say that.
She was just very irate.
Yeah, she just said that we better not cancel her application. That's all she said, and that's what I put on my report, everything that she had mentioned to me. But, I mean, I can contact her again, and she can, the next board meeting, we can have her come before you. Or, I'm not sure what she plans on doing.
If you don't mind me asking, when was she called initially to receive and look through her issuance of the lease? Like saying that it's her time to come over now and let's proceed with the application process or further into it, right?
She wasn't, I believe she came in and she spoke to the administrative director, Mr. Hatzett, and the 3 land agents. She brought up the issue that, you know, she's been waiting since 1995, she was not entertained. Nothing was ever said to her, I believe, that other than what Glenn had mentioned. Glenn did put down that she paid her application in 2018.
Was she called before then to state that, all right, it's your time, your number's up, come to the office, let's proceed?
No, according to, there's not much stuff that was written in the information sheet. So whatever I put on the chronology is what is on the information sheet.
Her application form?
In her file?
Her file.
So
She had no number, nothing to contact, nothing.
Oh yes, she submitted a contact information sheet, change of contact, I'm sorry.
Okay.
When was that?
Yeah, when was that?
2019, that's when she met with the administrative director at that time.
So, sorry, Commissioner.
No, go ahead, please.
So just to add, just to make sure I'm clear. So there was no prior communication with Ms. Atoigui from the time she had submitted her application to 2018. We don't have any record of any additional contact. Okay. So
None.
is the process or the understanding back in 95 when you submitted your application that you had a period of time to pay for your application?
Yes,
And
it's in the back of the application right here.
Okay.
And it's also on the front that they have 30 days.
To make that payment?
Yes,
So-
$50 one-time, non-refundable processing fee payable within 30 days of application.
So the date of the application was December 4. So in essence, she should have paid by January 3rd, rounding.
Pretty much.
Okay. Okay. And
But
if I-
then they were also given a certain time.
Yep, so then I was gonna, okay, so then bridging it to the 2009, let's say amnesty period, if you didn't pay for your application, here's your chance, you would not be penalized, or your application would not be terminated if you come in and paid in 2009. So,
You had up to 2009, the January 9, 2009.
correct, and this was published in November of 2008.
Correct.
Okay. And so even with that period, there's no communication with Ms. Atoigui for any visits that I couldn't pay, I can't pay my fee during this during this period, extended period, where there'll be, you know, quote unquote, no questions asked. My application's still valid.
There's nothing, so the date starts, like, as I mentioned, the notation started March 12, 2018.
2018, when she came in to say, hey, I need to pay my,
She called,
oh, okay, so she called to pay my fee, my application fee.
yes, and, yeah.
Okay? I just wanted to make sure I understood the process. Thank you.
Since she paid in 2018, can she be on the list starting 2018 to apply? In other words, she lost already
Her 95 spot,
yeah.
right? I think,
Well, I
correct. So we may or may not be able to make that decision, Commissioner Berdalio.
No, I just wonder whether, let's say today I come here and apply for property.
Yeah.
CHamoru Land Trust, and I pay the $50, do I get to be on the list
Okay,
as of today?
so, okay, on the receipt has a date that you paid and a timestamp. The application, when it was submitted, should have the same thing, the date, the date and the time, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I understand all that.
So,
Well, so I think that's a question to Attorney Toft, right?
okay.
But let me just also back.
I mean, you know, she lost her spot.
Yeah.
And to be fair,
Right.
she can apply, as of that date that she paid, she can be on the list.
But is that really fair? Because other people have, you know, they paid, they applied, they did everything they
No, I'm
were
not
supposed to
saying
do.
she's not gonna be on the list of 1995.
No, but same thing as 2018. I mean, if someone came in and applied in that same time and they made their payment when they were supposed to, you know, they turned the application.
Yeah, understood. So let me just do a follow-up question. How many of our 1995 applicants, which we know we're starting to go through those, have not paid their application fee? Do we know that answer?
And we would have to get that from Ms. Therese.
From Ms. Therese?
Unpaid application.
Yeah, unpaid applications. Because that would kind of give us the sense of, here's what we have to deal with. If we decide that we cancel this, that means everyone that has applied in 1995 or whatever years, we cancel it. If we decide to you know, with Commissioner Berdalio, I mean, it's worth discussing that at the point they pay, that's where they fall in line. Now, if they pay tomorrow, then they fall in line to the 2022 list,
Right.
for example, right? And even if they're 95. Okay, so that, again, those are just discussion points and options. Attorney Toft, I'll look to you. What's the best course of action here?
We just cancel it, it's just that.
Right.
Well, I mean, the problem with just kind of redating it is that there isn't any provision in the law that allows that. Even this thing has no basis in the law, right? It doesn't say commission shall have the power to reopen amnesty periods later. So I think, you know, if you invalidate this one, you're gonna, you know, same thing, opening up a giant can of worms of, now we have to go through every application, see when the payment was made, and what are we gonna do about the ones that happen to pay maybe day 31 through day 3001.
Yes.
So, something for the commission to keep in mind in making the decision.
I think something to kind of see, commissioners, is of all the applications we have received, how many have not been paid? And when did they receive those applications? So at least we can make that decision going forward, right? We have data to support the decision. And just make a, you know, we can make some decisions after we see what that volume looks like, or that what the data says, right? Because it'll be key, right? Because I mean, we are definitely going through the December 95s, and I'm sure there's going to be some of those questions, and there's going to be some anomalies, there's going to be some discrepancies that we're going to have to go through, right? And that's going to be the painstaking process, but it's what we have to do. So that's just again, dialogue for us to consider. That we, we can, let's table this and get some of the data to support, or what do we have to look forward to in that sense? What do you think?
Yeah, just how many of this?
The
is-
same situation, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we agree to just go ahead and table this?
I agree.
Okay. Okay, so Ms. Day, thank you very much. We're going to table this. One action for you, please, is to take a look at our database and provide the board in our next meeting of all the applicants that we have received to date, how many are not paid, and then break down the years,
Okay,
right? So
Will do.
95, 96, 97, whatever those dates are,
okay,
unpaid. So total applicants, number unpaid.
okay,
Okay.
will do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Next
you.
up is, thank you very much. Thanks, Commissioners. Aisha Diaz, is that your case as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, we have before you Aisha Francine Muffnes Diaz. The complaint and the issue is assessment of property taxes to the original CLTC applicant, Irene I. Muffnes. And then another issue is to qualify Aisha Francine Muffnes Diaz as an eligible beneficiary for CHamoru Land Trust under Public Law 35112. Applicant's date and time.
Give me, Ms. Dede, is Ms. Diaz not able to join us today?
No,
She's not able to join us?
No.
But she was informed?
yes, she was informed, and her POA was informed.
Okay, thank you.
So the applicant's date and time, December 2nd, 1995 at 9:09 a.m. Application number 85, application type residential, priority 1, preoccupier, no land use permit, no mayor's verification, notice of intent to award, there is none in file. There was a residential lease dated January 23, 1997, and signed by Administrative Director Ronald Tehan for Tract 9210, Block 16, Lot 10, Phase 1, Jigo. Lot size was a quarter acre. No survey authorization, but there is a survey map, 126 FY93. I just want to mention that I have brought this case before, but I'm just gonna go through the chronology again. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Okay, so on January 23rd, 1997, a lottery for Lot 10, Block 16, Tract 9210, Phase 1, Jigo, and a residential lease signed by Administrative Director Ronald Tehan and Carl T.C. Gutierrez, Governor of Guam. But the lease was not signed by the original applicant, Irene Muffnes. January 27, 1997, residential interview, 2 successors designated, Aisha Diaz and Jolene Muffnes. July 23, 2018, a letter from Jolene P. Muffnes received requesting to transfer her successor rights to Aisha Francine Muffnes Diaz. August 8, 2018, a recorded POA for Aisha Diaz submitted under instrument number 925364. March 11, 2019, a memo to file requesting successor claim to Irene Muffnes' application lease rights, and it was approved by Administrative Director Jack Hattick III. Supporting documents submitted is Irene Muffnes' death certificate, notarized relinquishment letter from Jolene Muffnes, and qualifying documents for Aisha Diaz. February 5th, 2020, a letter to Department of Revenue and Taxation requesting to remove Irene Muffnes from the tax roll, signed by Administrative Director Jack Hattick III. April 29, 2021, a lot was identified for Aisha, which is Tract 3734, Block 19, Lot 17 in Inarajan. May 5th, 2021, a site inspection conducted verifying occupancy for Tract 3734, Block 19, Lot 17 in Inarajan, compiled by land agent myself and land agent Glenn A. and land agent Eileen Chartloff. May 14, 2021, a decline of municipality of award signed by Francis M. Diaz, attorney in fact. I'm sorry, she is the POA for Aisha. June 17, 2021, CLTC Board of Commissioners approved the survey authorization and residential lease to Aisha Francine Mufnes Diaz for tract 3734, block 19, lot 17 in Alahan, containing an area of 929 plus minus square meters. December 20, 2021, POA emailed CLTC requesting a correction of error on property tax for Irene Mufnes. On the status information sheet, did you want me to read the whole? I included the status information sheet notation for your review.
Right.
Did you want me to read it off too?
You wanted to go through the 2 pages of the status information sheet, or do you want to
The findings.
go to the findings?
Let's go to the findings.
Yeah. Okay. Let's proceed to the findings.
Okay, so the findings is a residential lease signed by Administrative Director R.T. Hen and Governor Carl T.C. Gutierrez signed, but original applicant did not sign the residential lease, which is Irene Mufnes. She's the original applicant. The original applicant was assessed property taxes for tract 9210, block 16, lot 10 in the municipality of Jigo. Public law. I know this might be kind of confusing, but now it's going to go into the qualifications for Aisha, which is Public Law 35-112. Any applications for leases that have not been approved by January 1st, 2021 shall be subject to the terms of the public law enacted by this act and Chapter 75A of Title 21, Guam Code annotated. The eligible beneficiary means any person, regardless of race, color, national origin, whose land was acquired by the United States government between 1898 and 1968 or descendant of such person. Verification of eligible beneficiaries, own land acquired by the United States, or number 1, to be eligible based on ownership of land that was acquired by the United States government between 1898 and 1968. An applicant must provide either documentary evidence of ownership in substantially the same form as that required by the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission for ancestral land claims, or declaration of affidavit signed under penalty of perjury attesting that the person owned or is the descendant of someone who owned land that was acquired by the United States. To extent known or reasonably ascertainable by the applicant, this declaration or affidavit shall include the location by parcel number, address, legal description, and/or legally recognized identifier of the land that was claimed to have been owned and the date of acquisition by United States. On June 17, 2021, CLTC Board of Commissioners approved the survey authorization and residential lease to Aisha Francine Mufnes Diaz for tract 3734, block 19, lot 17 in the municipality of Inalahan. However, the original applicant's lease was not completed prior to the new law, Public Law 35-112. Therefore, the successor, Aisha Diaz, is required to qualify under Public Law 35-112. So the request that I'm bringing before you is to remove Irene I. Mufnes from the property tax assessment listing for Lot 10, Block 16, Tract 9210, Phase 1 in the municipality of Jigo, and then to qualify Aisha Francine Mufnes Diaz as the beneficiary for the CHamoru Land Trust Commission under Public Law 35-112.
Thank you, Ms. Dede. So just a quick question. So this was obviously worked on by our commissioners, our board, and it's coming back to us relevant to correcting the property tax information and then also ensuring that Ms. Aisha Diaz is also qualified.
Correct.
Correct? Okay, so what happened, sorry, Commissioners, may I take the lead?
You can speak.
So what happened between now and then, or then and now?
Okay, so that's what I wanted to ask legal counsel.
Okay.
So because the board approved the issuance of a lease, a survey authorization and a lease for Aisha, but because she has to qualify now under the new law, do they have to rescind that motion, or does that motion stand?
I'm not sure she has to qualify. She was the beneficiary of the original lease, right?
Well, there was no original, well, the lease was
The
not
lease was
completed.
not signed by Irene, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what that
The
is.
original,
Yeah,
sorry,
how does
the
that-
original
The original lease,
applicant was not, or I'm sorry, the original applicant did not sign the lease,
correct.
That's okay.
That doesn't make the lease void, is the thing, though.
That's, okay.
So it legally makes it voidable by Irene, so it still exists.
Okay.
And so under our test of whether or not a designated beneficiary has to qualify, she was designated back in '97 under this. So because the lease is still valid, she doesn't need to re-qualify under 35112 because she was named as a successor to the lease back in '97.
Okay, so what happens to that lease? Because the applicant didn't sign it, Ms. Irene Muffness, but only the director and the governor.
Right.
I mean, how do we correct that to make it a good lease?
Well, I mean, we can't correct it because we're not Irene. You can't, yeah, there's no way for a full validation of it by the lessee who's now deceased. So just the rights to it go then to her successor, Aisha, who doesn't need to qualify under 75A, just under 75.
Okay. So the,
Would not need to, is what you said?
Would not.
would not. So because she declined that municipality,
Mhm.
that one, so this is just pretty much a transfer, or a request to transfer to a new property?
Correct.
Okay,
That's how we should treat it.
okay, because so like the chairman was asking what happened from then to now, and that was the issue that we were having. I did request for survey authorization, and I was told that, because the lease wasn't signed, all signatures weren't there, we weren't able to move forward until we qualified her under the new law, because there was no lease technically. So if that's what you're saying, so because she signed the municipality decline, so it's just pretty much a relocation, I'm sorry, not transfer, relocation. Because the property that was given, someone else has a lease for that,
Okay.
was issued a lease for that. So we do a relocation and it's gonna be an addendum?
Yes.
Okay, so Attorney Thompson and Ms. Dede, we're gonna table this.
Okay.
Can I get it sorted out, work through it to make sure that we have everything in place, so that it's clearer, right? Because I want to make sure too that you, have those items reviewed, and then we can help guide through that. Where does it stand? Because from the recommendation, or what's recommended, I don't think is necessarily what we need action on. So if you can sort it out a little bit more and get it, for lack of better words, clean it up before we review it in our next.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if this lease, if we're gonna continue on with this lease under Miss Irene Muffness, then Aisha is gonna be responsible for property taxes,
So,
right?
exactly.
Right,
So,
so-
Or would it be waived because it was issued to another person,
No.
the same property.
Let's sort those pieces out and get some guidance through Attorney Toft, and then we can start making those decisions.
We can talk later on
Yeah.
Can I
Okay.
also suggest there's some supporting documents too? Can you provide that for us too, please? Like everything that we would need to know, if you don't mind.
The qualifying document, which
Right.
one?
Yeah, supporting, qualifying, you know what I mean? Just
I-
so everything's in line. Give us that, right?
I didn't want to put it in or, attach it, right, to give, because,
No,
like her,
yeah, that's, you know, if needed, we can work through this and just, with Director, Ms. Camacho.
okay.
Okay? All right, so Commissioners, we'll table this one.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are at the agricultural leases.
Cynthia Chotis. Chotis.
I'm sorry, Cynthia Chavez, my fault.
Okay, so the case I have before you is Cynthia Chaltis, who is deceased, and this is to qualify successor as an eligible beneficiary to CHamoru Land Trust and to transfer application rights to successor. Applicant's date and time is December 9, 1995 at 3:10 p.m. Application number is 1796. Application type is a residential, priority 1, and she's not a preoccupier. The chronology is October 18, 2002, a residential interview. Daughter Natasha N. Sablon was named the successor. December 3rd, 2021, submission of a notarized CLTC application for Natasha N. Sablon, along with the birth and death certificates, successor designation form, letter requesting successor claim, copy of ID, notarized affidavit of eligibility, and copy of declaration of taking. January 5th, 2022, an email correspondence from land agent Johanna Kasem requesting validation of Guam Ancestral Lands Commission lot from Joey L. Leon Guerrero at the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission. January 7, 2022, a copy of the order and judgment from Guam Ancestral Lands Commission validating the owner of Lot 2037-5 in the municipality of Agana. On the status information sheet, on October 16, 2002, staff indicated pending birth certificate, PBC interview, notified client of documents needed and status of CLTC. On January 29, 2010, staff indicated update addendum and interview bring in BC. On February 1st, 2010, database update, address, contact, interview sheet. On April 4th, 2013, land agent Sean indicated A came in to follow up on the status of issuance of property. Offered lot in Inarahan, Umatic. Need to schedule lot showing to show A lot 10120, Ukadu area. On April 11, 2013, land agent Sean indicated he showed A lot in Iha. On February 5th, 2014, database update, address, contact number. On December 15, 2020, myself indicated that B is beneficiary, informed CLTC that A had passed away and the process for successor claim. RMO is returned to records management office until all documents are provided for successor claim. On September 23rd, 2021, my land agent JD indicated B contacted CLTC following up on successor claim, informed B the process, and now she is required to submit additional qualifications based on 75A. B will be in to submit all documents. On December 3rd, 2021, land agent JD indicated B submitted all required documents for review and action. On December 9, 2021, LAGD indicated email correspondence inserted from legal counsel Nicholas regarding the 180 days and name successors. Forward to Director for review and action. On December 13, 2021, Administrative AD Angela Camacho indicated, JD, please follow up with successor and assist with qualifying under 75A update file. On December 15, 2021, Land Agent JD indicated qualifying documents submitted on December 3rd, 2021, successor requesting to transfer application rights or successor claim. My findings were Public Law 23-38, Section 5.8, Transfer of Application Rights. An applicant may designate a relative qualified under the Act to include husband and wife, children, widows and widowers of the brothers and sisters, or nieces and nephews to succeed the applicant's application rights upon death of the applicant. 75A 101D of Chapter 75A, Title 21 GCA, the eligible beneficiary means any person regardless of race, color, or national origin. Number one, whose land was acquired by the United States government between 1898 and 1968, or descendant of such persons. And the verification of eligible beneficiaries, documents submitted by the successor is a declaration of taking under Juan Cruz Santos, Lot 2037-5 in the municipality of Agaña, civil case number 15-47. Judgment under Lot 2037-5 Agaña, the birth and death certificate that show direct descendants of Juan Cruz Santos, and a family tree. So the request is to qualify Natasha Sablon as an eligible beneficiary as per Public Law 35-112 as the great-great-granddaughter of Juan Cruz Santos under Lot 2037-5, Agaña, and then transfer application rights of Cynthia Sablon Treltis to Natasha Sablon based on Public Law 23-38, Section 5.8.
Cool. Thank you, Ms. Adi. Commissioners, any questions to start off? No, can I make it? When did Ms. Treltis pass? Sorry, I missed that in the.
December 15, and passed away in the process for excessive claim.
So Natasha was named the successor in
The interview sheet.
October 2002, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then, but when did Ms. Treltis pass?
So it states here, it's kind of confusing with the death certificate because it states here that she passed away on February 24th, 2021. But if you look, up on the top part, it says September 23rd, 2020. Yeah, so.
Where's the 2020?
Okay, that would be the date of death right there.
December 15, 2020? G?
September 20. So I was kind of confused on that, and so when I questioned Ms. Sablon, she had mentioned that her mother passed away in 2020,
September 23rd.
but the death certificate was not made available until March of 2021 because of the nature in her death, of how she died.
Understood, but there should be a date of death versus when it was issued.
September 23rd, 2020, and then it was signed by the medical examiner February 24th, 2021.
So
Understood, but we want to know, right, the question is when was the date of death?
that's
September 23rd, 2020.
Okay, and however, prior to that, already Ms. Sablon was designated as a beneficiary.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and given through your research that she is an eligible beneficiary based on 35112, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and Attorney Top, given the timeline, meaning she was designated in 2002, which would take precedence on her qualification as the successor? Is it because, since she was already designated in 02, it's the, which guidance to,
75A because there wasn't a lease issue.
there wasn't an issue, key thing, okay, got it. Okay,
What is, on the facts,
sorry.
there's no lot number that Ms. Troutas was assigned to.
Okay, so they didn't assign her one, she was just shown the lot, a certain lot, and I'm just going off of what the status information sheet says, that the land agent at that time just showed her a lot, an EHA, and,
But there's no lease though.
no lease.
So this is just, so sign up, this is just, on the application stage, and just because of Ms. Troutas's death or passing, we just, we want to validate and quantify that Ms. Natasha Sablan is eligible to be the beneficiary. Yeah, okay, just want to make sure that's clear. Sorry to
She
be.
paid her $50.
Yes, ma'am.
Before,
Okay. Okay, commissioners, any questions? Okay, if you would like to take action, and then we can do that, and then I had a point of clarification for Attorney Top, because Ms. Santos needs to leave.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that Natasha Sablan qualifies for being eligible beneficiary as per Public Law 3512-112 as great-great-granddaughter of Juan Cruz Santos under Lot 2037-5, Ganya.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Bordallo. May I get a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Santos. Any objections?
None.
Hearing none, motion passes to qualify Natasha Sablan as the eligible beneficiary of Ms. Cynthia S.
Cynthia.
Troutas. Okay,
Is it supposed to be the beneficiary of Cynthia Troutas or under CHamoru Land Trust?
what do you mean?
So it's,
The
I
success.
just want to make sure, because I just don't want any, like if I'm going to request to have this file transferred, the application rights transferred to Ms. Sablan, I just want to make sure that it's,
In line?
okay.
Because
Well,
she's the successor of Ms. Troutas. Right. Yeah, so we only did the first one, is qualifying her eligibility.
Then you have the transfer
Yeah,
right.
then we have to transfer the right, yes. Okay, go ahead, sign up for that.
And then the other resolution is to transfer application rights to Cynthia Sablan Troutas to Natasha Sablan based on Public Law 23-38, Section 5.8.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Bordallo.
I second that
Can I get a
motion.
second? Thank you, Commissioner Santos. Any objections?
None.
None.
Okay, hearing none, motion passes for the application rights of Cynthia Sablan Troutas to be transferred to Natasha Sablan based on Public Law 23-38, Section 5.8. Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner, I'm sorry, Attorney Top, Ms. Santos needs to leave. And we do still have items on the agenda.
Yes.
Can you remind me how we should proceed? We shouldn't proceed, meaning, and then we just take a recess till next meeting, or how do you suggest we handle that?
We can either,
Remind me,
you can either do a recess and conduct another meeting before the next one to
Yeah.
address
To
the,
finish it up. Or adjourn and.
or adjourn and then just add these to the
And
next.
table everything?
Yeah,
Okay.
table all of the remaining items and then.
Okay, so, yeah, unfortunately, Commissioner Santos has to leave. And Joey, I know we have GICC joining us today, but unfortunately, we wouldn't be at quorum, so we would have to, I would say we adjourn and we table all the rest of the items for our next meeting in March. Is that good? Okay. Okay, so may
I'll
I?
make
May I
a
get,
motion
yeah,
to
may I get a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn?
Until the
Until our
March
next meeting in March, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Bradley. May I get a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, any objections?
None?
Okay, motion
Okay.
passes, meeting adjourned
Thanks,
at
guys.
4:31.
Thank you.
Okay, that's